we had technical difficulties. I'm sure if you guys have noticed our tweet, we actually stupid Zoom. Everybody was just on Zoom. So we just revealed our secret to the world. We're not actually at Molly's.
That would have been great.
That would have been great if we were, but unfortunately, Zoom failed us because I think everybody else in the world has been using it. So whatever. So take 2. This is episode 3. What are we on? 3? We're on 3.
Yeah. Because the first episode was just us sort of talking about ourselves, and then the second episode was Chicago Fire Season 1.
The vanity.
So now we're on Chicago P.D. Season 1.
Yes! P.D. I'm partial to P.D. Which is weird because I'm not wearing P.D. today.
I'm not wearing any merch today.
And I'm still not wearing any, but I promise for the next one I will have Kim Burgess something of some sort.
This is gonna be Kim's spiel every month. I'll have merch.
I promise I promise you can hold me at my word. I will have Chicago merch next podcast.
Oh, you guys heard it.
The only thing I had left was a St. Patty's Day shirt, and I was like, I don't know that clovers are the way to go in fall. So
the Molly's one? The Molly's? Is it the Molly's one?
Yeah, the Molly's St. Patrick's Day. My hoodie, I bought the hoodie from the NBC store, but like the logo is peeling off. Even if I don't put it in the dryer, it peels off. So I wore that last time when we did our take 1. And then I washed it because I got lipstick on it. Sneezing. Like I sneezed like this. And I got dark lipstick on it.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah, that's what happened.
She's like, there's lipstick on my thing. I was like, oh my
God.
I
was like, this is what it looks like when you get dark lipstick on your sweatshirt. And it was because I was sneezing like this.
Oh.
And when I looked down, I was like, oh. So anyway, I washed it, and now even more of the logos come off, so I couldn't wear that today, which bums me out. But
damn, that's cheap.
I know. Not cool.
I don't like that.
I would complain. I'd be like, dude, it's the NBC store official merchandise. Give me some good quality shit. I don't know.
Right. Like it looked like it was just like a vinyl logo that they put on it. Which
And how much did you pay for that? Like $50?
A lot, yeah.
Yeah, see?
I don't like that.
Oh, that's lame. I'll just find a Molly's one somewhere, like on Redbubble or something.
I know. I need to just find another one that's not official.
Yeah. That sucks, though. You spent so much money and peeling off.
A bummer, but it's okay.
Yeah, that is okay, I guess.
So, no one Chicago merch this time. I still need a Sylvie Brett paramedic shirt.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
I still need that.
I'll make one.
I gotta find one.
Apparently, they're roping me into making one. So.
There you go. Yes, because there isn't one out there, and I need it.
Same.
This is the only paramedic shirt that I have. Yeah, it's lame. It'd be better if we had like a name right here or something.
Yeah.
Or like where would I put, like, if I was gonna put like the PIC stripes, it'd be like right here maybe.
Yeah, like on the well, when they wear like the fancy uniform, like the dress uniforms, it's on the shoulders.
Oh yeah, okay.
But on like the normal uniform, it's on the collar, like the lapel. So maybe you could design like a fake collar. Could you do that? Yeah.
I'll play around with
and then just put it on there.
I'll play around with designs and see, and whatever you guys end up liking, I'll post it up there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That would be awesome.
Apparently, I'm gonna be making merch, guys.
Yes, please. I need to wear something with some PIC bars on it.
That's where I'm going with my life. All right. I'll try to get it done before November. Before November 11th rolls around.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm going to be like all decked out that night. Like I'm going to have my 81 shirt on. Like, yes.
Oh my God, yeah.
My show's coming back.
We should do like a live viewing or something. Even though like I'm in the Pacific Coast, but I mean I can make it work maybe. I'll just pretend I'm watching it with you guys. Stupid Pacific time. You guys can watch it together, all three of you guys.
I'm so excited. I'm like, Kara replied to one of my threads this week and like blew my mind.
Yeah,
It was awesome.
Oh, that was cool.
I sent Christina a text. I was like, I am dead.
It's a good
Texting you
reason.
from beyond the grave. It was awesome.
She got a reply from Kara. I got an autograph.
I know, I'm jealous of that autograph.
Next
I
time.
love her.
Next time. We love you, Kara.
Mhm.
Shout out to Kara Kilmer. Love you. Wrong podcast, though. We're supposed to be talking about PD.
That's
I mean,
okay.
it's still the Chicago universe. It's the Chicago
exactly.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I started rewatching season 2 of PD, and she was, in like almost a whole episode.
Yeah. When Jay had his bounty or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was her first. Yeah, I remember that. I was like,
Mhm.
who's this girl? And then, it was before I restarted Fire. So I was
In
like,
201, she was just like casually chilling, having a drink with Ruzek and Halstead, and I was like, I love this.
oh, yeah, okay, never mind.
And then later, it was like 203.
Yeah, okay.
She waited with Jay while he was waiting for news on the girl.
What I'm thinking about. Never mind.
Yeah.
Oh, so she had the drink with Ruzek and Halstead before. Oh, yeah.
201.
When Alvin came into the bar and was just like, have your bounty in your head. Okay.
Yeah.
I remember season 2 more than I remember season 1. This is ridiculous. I just watched season 1.
I started rewatching season 2 to like refresh myself on season 1 because it picks up pretty close to it,
Yeah.
So it kind of just like made me remember everything that came before.
Well,
because I've binge watched all of Med since I watched season 1, so I like, oh my god.
This is not the episode where I'm gonna be upset. So I'm not talking about Ted today.
Next time.
Yeah.
You guys to hear me angry.
Well, I think that is just unfortunate. It's gonna be a collective feeling. I feel like, unfortunately. I mean, at heart, still appreciate love Med, but it gets your.
Those writers are mean. They're mean.
They are.
Like, bless all the people who choose Med as their favorite Chicago show. You have the patience and the forgiveness of a saint. I could not.
100%.
Oh my gosh.
Real.
So
I love Med, but it's just like it's that show that I know that I'm gonna be watching. Like every Wednesday is that show that's gonna piss me off, and it sucks because that's the first show. So I'm like, God damn it, I'm gonna be pissed the rest of the night.
Is it? Oh yeah, is it still gonna be though on November 11th? Have they said that? Because they changed it from season 7 to season 8 because season 7 wasn't Fire first. Season 7 of Fire wasn't it first, and then it was.
I didn't watch it live, but
I didn't watch it live either, so I can't remember.
Oh, whatever. Either way, I'm gonna be off before PD, so
yeah.
Whatever, doesn't matter. I'll be pissed off before the other shows.
They'll make it better. They'll make it better. The other shows will make it better.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least Fire will.
Agreed.
Yeah, I'll be happy for like the middle. If that's really the order. If it's gonna be Fire, PD, I'll be happy in the middle. I'll be happy in the middle, and then PD comes. Damn it!
Yeah, I think that.
Guys, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I think they've liked that formula of Med at 8, Chicago Fire at 9, and then PD at 10, and I don't see them having a big reason to change it, but that's just me. So I mean, the ratings have usually been pretty consistent, so I don't think they probably want to mess with that.
Well, I think
I could be wrong.
I really do think I remember that Med was not the first one. The first time they did One Chicago Wednesday, I feel like Med was not first. I feel like Fire.
No, I think you're right if I remember. But then
they changed it, and they changed it because we've talked about this before. Is that Med actually gets the highest ratings of the 3 shows? Mm-hmm. So they use Med as the lead-in.
Yep.
Into the other 2.
Makes sense.
Which makes sense. Yeah. So
I mean, I hate to still reference Grey's Anatomy, but I mean, doctor shows work too, and I mean, they always tend to really bring in the ratings, so it's not surprising at all.
Yeah, It's true.
That's true. I think most of the doctor shows are the 8 o'clock slot. That's probably what it is too. If I remember watching, I watched The Resident. That's probably the only other med show that I watch right now, and I think it's at 8. But I know I watched that 5. Right? Yeah. So.
All right.
Why am I'm the one getting all the weird. Okay.
You're still not a
you vanish every now and then. It's pretty funny. Just like
fuck
camouflage. It's great.
Ah. I'm not putting a light on. I've been like breaking out because of my masks. Like wearing a mask every freaking time. So.
Oh yeah.
Oh, let's hide that. I forgot to put foundation. Oh well. Anyway.
I don't need it.
I don't need it. Okay. We say so. There's no one there anyway. There's no one here in this bar.
No.
That's right.
Not like Jake here. Yeah,
where no one's allowed in because of COVID. So it's just us.
No one's allowed in my room. Oh God. Okay. Anyway, so season 1 of PD. What do you guys think?
I mean, it was just as jam-packed as Fire season 1 to me. There's a lot of plot in those episodes. It wasn't as long as season 1 of Fire. It had fewer episodes.
I think that's probably what makes it all.
I feel like it had just as much plot.
Yep.
Yeah. But the difference being because of the fact that it got established, I guess, in Fire, it wasn't as jumbled as Fire's first season was, unfortunately. Because they had to basically.
Yeah, I don't feel that Fire season 1 was jumbled. I think I'm the only one that didn't feel that way.
I thought it was jumbled. They were trying to balance both shows or trying to introduce both shows at some point. It's just, I felt like I think I might have said this before, but I just felt like Fire I wanted Fire to have more emphasis on Fire rather than.
Well, if you think about it though, if you take out the number of episodes that were Fire and PD in season 1 of Fire, there were just as many Fire focused episodes as PD focused episodes in season 1. Because there's only 15 PD episodes in season 1 and then in Fire season 1 there were how many?
I think your standard like 22, 20. I think 22 of some
so,
sort.
That's about a 7 episode difference.
Yeah.
So really, if you think about it, the plots that were PD focused were about 7 episodes. So it's sort of about equal.
Yeah, I think for me at least, I still felt like with Fire, and not to go back and forth between them two, but I know we probably will anyway, so who cares? But I still feel like there were, even within Chicago Fire season 1, there were a couple filler episodes. That's where I can kind of see what, like, maybe it didn't feel like it was maybe a Fire focus, but like with PD, I didn't think there were really any filler episodes even within.
Well, when you only have 15, you can't have any filler.
Exactly.
That's true too, though. That's true. But I really should stop comparing the two because then it just, it's like I said, it's one universe. So it's really just like, it shouldn't,
PD did have a head start because the universe was already there. Like they'd already,
right, yeah.
So PD sort of had a jump start because of that. Because you already knew Voight and you already knew Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
So, you kind of already had a basis for the show itself. And you knew what the conflict was going to be because from Fire, you knew Voight bad, Antonio good, and the two of them working together was going to be a thing.
That's true.
I'm really glad that they kept that part.
I'm really glad that they kept that part in as far as like at least the beginning of PD.
Yeah.
Playing season 1 with the fact that it was all about Voight, it was all about Antonio, and the fact that they clashed and it was like good cop, bad cop type of thing. Because I watched PD first, right? Yeah. So when I watched Fire, even though I did watch half of Fire like beforehand, I just didn't get into it. But rewatching it, if I had started with just Fire, like, and then just went in real time and just like tried to get into PD and everything, it wasn't as, it didn't really draw me in so much with what happened in Fire. So if I were like if I was just be like getting introduced to a spin-off that's Chicago PD, I don't know if I would want to watch it because it didn't seem as interesting what happened in Fire. You know what I mean? It's a lot different, especially with the cast too. It was such different cast. There's only like 3 people that ended up on the actual show now. But, you know, I think I'm really glad watching PD first for me. Like, it really just drew me into the universe so much.
Same here. Same here.
Like, it's really different watching it backwards. That's probably my point. It's really different watching it backwards because it's very, like, PD season 1 was just, that was it for me. That just what drew me in so much was the very first episode. To me, it was perfect. Like, it's not everybody's favorite show, and it's probably not mine now. Like, I actually do like Fire more if I'm thinking about the recent seasons. But as far as the older seasons go, that's definitely what drew me in for sure.
Well, and I don't know about anybody else, but I've been watching cop shows, you know, like medical dramas, all these types of shows. I've watched many iterations of them all, but there was something, I don't know, it's something about Chicago PD in particular, and I don't know if it's just maybe just having that right mix of characters, it already being somewhat started out on Chicago Fire, but it just felt different somehow, some way, and which I still can't, like, you can tell, I mean, it's how many years later is it now, and I still can't put a finger exactly on it of why it feels so different, but I know it's different than a lot of people seen on TV.
To me, I'm not a big fan of police procedurals. The only other one that I've ever liked is Blue Bloods. So I'm not like a huge fan of them. But to me, I would agree that PD feels different because I actually watch it and I enjoy watching it. And I think to me the reason for that is the casting. Whoever handled the casting and the chemistry between all of these people, not just the romantic couples, you know, whatever, but like just the chemistry between the entire cast is really great. I mean, honestly, from the very beginning of the pilot episode, it was good. Exceptionally
like
good.
Whoever did that deserves like all the awards and like the ultimate high five, because like you sometimes get that special mix of, I think, of a few characters, but for it to be like almost the whole cast is like unheard of, I feel like.
Like, for me, everybody that knows me knows that I am all about the MCU. I'm all about Marvel. And, you know, given so many characters and so many movies in that universe, I've always said that they've picked the perfect casts. But when it comes to having chemistry with everybody in that universe, it's not always up to par. Not naming particulars because I don't really have an example, but there were times when I felt like this might not have been the best casting, so much so, and when it comes to police procedurals too, like I'm with Kim. Like, I've spent my whole life watching police procedurals, and there's probably only one other show that I've really been drawn into, and that was Hawaii Five-0. But then watching this one, it is different. I'm like you. Like, I can't point my finger as to why it is, but definitely when it comes to the casting, though, like, I think every single one of them, actually, even Jin, even like the episodes that Jin was in, like, it felt like it felt like a family for sure.
Yeah, and at the time when season 1 was on, you didn't know that Jin wasn't going to be on the show for a while. I mean, he's just a part of the team, and he feels like a part of the team.
Yeah.
So, you know,
he's not around, you know, like, he's there, and it just feels right.
Right, exactly. So that, and I mean, that's my take on it, because I don't watch a whole lot of police procedurals, or at least I don't stick with a lot of them. Like, I may watch an episode here or there, but I don't really stick with them. Even Blue Bloods, I haven't really paid attention to the last couple of seasons. So for me, I think it's the casting on the show from the very beginning. That was so good. I mean, half the things that happen in the pilot wouldn't have been as endearing if you had a different cast, like Al popping up at random times, you know, like that was a good bit. And it was really funny, and it wouldn't have been half as funny with a different actor, just because of the way he played it.
I agree. You know, when I was researching the show, sorry, Kim, go ahead.
No, just very much, and I think what plays into, like, I've watched like tiniest bit of Blue Bloods, But from even parts of that show, and I feel like even Christine, once again, I saw little bits of Hawaii Five-O, which I do plan to go back and watch, is that some of these police procedurals that I feel like hit differently are able to focus importantly as what they are, a police kind of procedural show, but they're able to still find that mix with kind of like not comedy, obviously, because it's not meant to be a comedy, but they still have this good mix of moments that are,
they tap into what I would call levity.
Exact levity. Thank you. Yeah. It's like, I love SVU. I love that universe, but there's what comes in there a lot of the time are like those like comedic relief moments, like just like a tagline or like somebody like making fun in a moment, and it's fine in there, but it doesn't necessarily give you that levity that you feel like I feel like with a lot of these other shows.
I think you just mentioned 3 police procedurals, and I think the common thread between them, PD, Blue Bloods, and Hawaii Five-O, was the team is family aspect. Blue Bloods, it's literally family, like literally it's the Reagan family. Yeah. But for the other 2, it really is team is family, because there's things that they do on PD that they keep in house, that they're a unit, like actually literally a unit. It's not like, oh, we're a police unit, but really my superior is this person. No, it's they're a unit. Yeah. And I would say the same thing with Hawaii Five-O. They were a unit. Yeah. So I think that's the common thread, and what makes those different is that aspect, the team is family thing. Which all the Chicago shows do. And I think that's one of the reasons that they're so popular. Even Med. I mean, Med does it a little differently, but
but they do. At the end of the day, they do have each other's backs for sure.
Exactly. So I think all of the Chicago shows do that, and I think that's what makes them so successful. Is because it's about more than just, oh, here's the crime of the week, or here's the rescue of the week. It's about the characters that make the rescue, the people behind it. Even more so. So like on PD season 1, I mean, everybody sort of had their own plot that they were dealing with at a certain point, because you had Aaron with the guy that comes back from her past, whose name I can't remember.
Charlie.
Thank you. Charlie. And then you had Jay with the child molester.
Yep.
That he was tailing.
Lonnie.
Was it Lonnie?
Something with Ani on the end.
Something with Ani, yeah. And then, I mean, everybody at some point had their own sort of focus to where you saw beyond the job, even if it related to the job.
That's true.
Saw things that they were dealing with outside of that. So, I mean, I think that's part of what makes PD stand out, is that it's not just about, and I think that might be the difference between PD and SVU, because I feel like SVU is very much like, this is the crime, this is what happened, and they sort of follow it all the way through. Whereas PD, it's like, we make the arrest, we get the evidence, and then everything else is about the people.
Yeah, for sure. Season 1 of PD, definitely, they found that balance like really early on, and I'm glad for that. Because I think about, now that we're talking about like Hawaii Five-O, for example, I know they didn't really do a good job focusing on the other main characters as much as they did with Steve and Danny. And those are the 2 mains for sure. But I mean, there was also Chin and Kono, which they unfortunately did not focus as much on as I wanted. And they had about like 23 episodes their first season to do that.
Yeah.
And, given the fact that it is like the whole like team is family thing, they did get that down. But as far as like getting the focus on, it just wasn't there. So I didn't feel as complete. So you're definitely right about that with PD. That they did a really good balance for 15 episodes, mind you. They did a really getting everybody's story down.
And similarly to Blue Bloods, I like that they had the different levels of the job. So it's like you have, Kevin and Kim, who are the patrol officers, the patrolmen. And then you have the detectives in the intelligence unit actually doing sort of like undercover work and, the detective work of it. So, and then of course you also see sort of like the back office side with Platt as the desk sergeant. So like you get a little taste of everything. It actually feels like life within the 21st, because you're not just seeing inside intelligence, you're seeing all of it. So
I honestly miss that. I miss seeing patrol. I miss seeing
me too.
Seeing behind the scenes and just like doing what she's doing behind that. I miss that.
Yeah, and we'll see, and that would be, and because we sort of talked about this in take one, so I'll bring it up here now. And that would be a good way for them to add diversity back to it, because they do need, PD needs to shake it up diversity-wise.
Yes.
So if they introduce 2 new patrol officers, it would give us back that patrol element of PD, which I really liked. And would also give us a chance to meet new characters with different backgrounds without them having to make an available space in the actual unit.
Yeah. No, I remember us talking about Trudy and the fact that she became such a good assist to intelligence within the recent years, but the fact that she was able to do her own thing back then and have these patrol officers, and they got their own cases, but sometimes they intertwine with an intelligence. Like, it was really such a way to bring in like the whole universe of the police force, not just intelligence, not just patrol. So yeah, no, I definitely miss that, and I definitely just miss Trudy having like a bigger role. But I mean,
well, I kind of miss. I miss seeing her like as the boss that gets to mess with people, because that was like that was the best.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing too. Like, I loved about season 1 was just the witty like banters that they all had, like like what I think Kim said, like just the fact that it's not filler comedy. It's like the comedy just felt so natural, is what it was. Like, it just
exactly, and
so hard for it.
Oh, exactly, and I feel like and we once again we took it in take 1. We did talk about it a little bit in take 1. And even like what we're talking about here is that little bit of levity is that it kind of just came like extraordinarily naturally with Kim and Kevin in just on the beat in their car, just all those different moments. It never felt forced, and it just made for like the most awesome friendship between these characters in the world. That, and once again, I will highlight on it here, like I did in take 1, is you can ship whoever you want to ship, but I will adore to my dying day Kevin and Kim being like bro TP, because it's like they're just that perfect friendship that I really wish we still would get to see. I mean, we see it a little bit in later seasons within PD, but just even on TV in general, we don't get, I feel like, enough of that great friend dynamic. Like, it's always ends up being a lot of shipping stuff, which I mean, I love shipping characters together. I adore it. But at the end of the day, we all need friends too, and it doesn't have to be that same old trope of a guy and a girl can't be friends. Yes, they can be friends, and it's sometimes it can result in really great chemistry that doesn't necessarily have to go down the road of shipping. Which if you support that I'm never gonna oppose you for that. But I still seriously just miss that dynamic between them, because we do get little Kevin and Kim moments later down the road, but it's not like season 1. It's not season 1.
I remember. I mean, not to veer off season 1, but I am going to veer off a little bit. I remember season 5 when Kevin was stuck in the church, and obviously the team didn't know where Kevin was, if he was okay, and if he was dead, whatever. And he came out, and you see Kim like come up from behind him, and was just like all smiles, and then Kevin was just, I know who this is, like. That was I think that was the last time I saw them have like a funny moment, or like just like that just show that chemistry that they had before. But no, for sure. I think as of for the later seasons, I think the reason why I would not be opposed to Kim and Kevin being a romantic thing is just because the romance has failed me in the later seasons. So I need something to hold on to, kind of thing.
Mine's gonna be Roe Water.
See, with Logan it's Roe Water, yeah.
But not anymore though.
I know. See, that's the thing. It's failing me. So it's just like, there's nothing for me to hold on to anymore in the later seasons except to just kind of watch it. That's for me. That's for me personally. But
no, I'm with you on that. I like some of the couples in the recent. Like, I like them. I'm not like super passionate about them the way I am the couples on Fire.
Yeah.
So for me, except for Roe Water was like my favorite thing last season, and now it's done. Yeah. But I'm with you. In the later seasons, I'm just kind of watching it, and like wherever it goes, I'm gonna be cool with it. I don't oppose anything that's happening, but I'm not like invested in any of it a whole lot. It's just kind of like whatever they decide to do. Let's see where this story goes. Like, I didn't hate Upzek. I didn't hate.
I love that. That's me.
Right. So like I'm just sort of watching the show like, okay, well, let's see what they do with this. You know, that's me in the later seasons. Whereas in the early seasons, I would say that's very much different because it was the beginning of things and things weren't as complicated.
Mm-hmm.
No, definitely earlier seasons, especially with season 1, I could definitely say I need Kim and Kevin to be my bro TP. Like that's for sure. That's for sure. Because I watched as I rewatched the first season, I'm like, damn, Berserk. Now I remember why I got into Berserk. Like I didn't know. I remember why I got into them, and they were just Well,
I mean, I can talk about Berserk for hours on end, but I can even say the same thing. Like when you and I did our little shipper side part of the Chicago PD season 1, is that even the same thing with Linstead, is that it's the magic of season 1. It just felt so right for a lot of the couples that they were starting to set up at least the base of it for a lot of it. And it just, most of what happened for those ships is you can't be mad at what happened in season 1 for most of them. Like, I mean, obviously I can't think of like top of my head. Like, obviously, you feel bad at the end of the day for Antonio and his wife because they just went through shit in this entire season from start to finish. And I mean, you kind of felt like you were going well, but for at least the ships that they were starting to build in season 1, to me, that's where it still comes back, at least from a shipper perspective of like Berserk and Linstead. It was kind of perfect for me.
Oh, it was perfect for me. It was perfect for me, even though they didn't get together. But I mean, the fact that Berserk got together, at least, like, that was great. That was great.
But we still got some like wonderful Linstead moments though too. Like you and I still freak out with that to this. So
yeah, I mean, just to say it briefly, like when we were talking about it, because of the fact that we got what we got so early on, moment 1, like the very first second that they were on screen, like I don't get that usually with couples. Like any shows that I watch, mostly it's just slow burns for me, and I should be used to that by now. But like the fact that I got that, I was like spoiled. I was like, damn, dude, I got that like off the first second. The fuck? There must be something wrong that's gonna happen. That's what I was thinking. Like first I was like, no way. That's early. Oh man, but I mean, like with the distraction that they didn't get together though, like at least I got Berserk and yeah.
Well, you could tell too, that they were trying to build up because it's like not that Berserk was like simple A to B because clearly they still go through stuff later, but like you could tell like they were trying to play a little bit of the longer game with Linstead too, which is it worked well. So it wasn't like 100% like mirroring Berserk where they got from point A to point Z by end of season for the most part, where you still felt that build up, and I felt like it was good that they didn't try and make it very like happy ending to the season like they did for Berserk because it worked for them. It worked.
Berserk was funny to me because it went from like episode 1 where Adam's engaged to someone else to like episode 15 where it's like he shows up at her door and you're like, that's a lot for 15 episodes. That's a lot.
Engaged with the woman I don't want to talk about. Yeah, let's not talk about that.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about Wendy all that much.
That name. Hey, you know what? I'm not complaining though with Linstead because I ended up getting Lin's to ride, so I'm good. I was good on that for a little while.
That was like my favorite thing. I loved that. Like when he stole the grenade paperweight off of her desk and like showed up later, like you're so adorable and dorky. I love it.
Oh. I was a fan of it. I wasn't a fan of the little side romance that Jay was having, but I was a fan of Lin's ride. I was good off that. That's for sure. I love that. That was my favorite part.
Yeah. No, they were cute.
Yeah.
But I will say with PD, I feel like now that you bring that up, trying to feel out how the crossover was going to work was sort of an issue because it didn't really work the way that they did it because they would just have, and they were on different nights, so I know that, but they would just have like Severide show up and mention a plot from Fire, and then you never hear about it again. So if you didn't watch both shows, it would have been like, wait, what happened to that?
That was me at the time, and I was still very confused. Like, who is this guy showing up? And makes a lot more sense now, but it was just at the time I was like very confused. But I'm like, I'll brush it off, and if they mention it again, then I'll go back. But otherwise, I'm good. I'm not.
There was an episode where he shows up, to talk to Aaron because his sister is missing.
Yeah.
And that's a Fire season 2 plot. And so like, but it just came out of nowhere. He just shows up and he's upset because his sister is missing. And so like, if you don't know that that's regarding a plot from Fire and this guy just shows up, you're like, wait, what, where,
That's
who is this?
exactly. Yep, that's exactly how I felt, except for the fact that I knew that Severide was from Fire, so I was just like, why the hell is he in the show? Even though I know, like, they're obviously in the same universe, but I'm still questioning it. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, so there's like a whole other side of the there's like a whole other side of the picture that you're not getting because Aaron made appearances on Fire.
Yep.
So like it's just like it felt discombobulated, like it didn't all go together, you know? Except for when they did the crossover episodes that were different, but just trying to insert little bits of Fire into PD, it felt like they didn't quite know how to do that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's
what I love about the later seasons though is the fact that they got the crossovers down.
Yeah. Well, they figured out, especially with Med, by the time they got to Med, they had figured out how to do that, how to have like that. Okay, they're just going to come in, like they're dropping off a patient, or this has to do with a police matter, so we're going to have, you know, Burgess bring this guy into the hospital, or you know, they figured out how to do that. But PD, this is the first like spin-off of Fire, and it's an early, like they just had one season with Fire and then they spun off into PD. So like you can tell they're still like kind of poking at it, like how do we
you can tell within Chicago Fire season of them writing for PD and then PD kind of trying to write in Fire, where it's not 100% there yet, but when, like you said, they get to the crossover episode, it doesn't feel as not discombobulated, but it feels like there's more sense of what's kind of going on a little bit.
Because the crossover episode, and we talked about this in Take 1 too, which I think we should talk about, is that when you get to the crossover episode, it kind of feels like they're teasing Med a little bit. You know?
Yeah.
And
I
it's
realized that until we said that.
Right. Yeah, so it's sort of like they were playing with the idea of like introducing to NBC, like if we did a medical show, this is how we would do it. Because you had plots in that crossover episode that had very little to do with anybody from Fire or PD. Like the only correlation to that whole plot with the girls is Kim, and that it's her niece, and that's it. I mean, that's a very small part of the whole complication.
Yeah.
The rest of it was all about that surgeon or the doctor that was the older sister, or you know, it was all about characters that we'd seen them, because the doctor in the crossover, we'd seen him on an episode of Fire in season 2, so we'd seen him before, but not with that much focus. So that made the crossover very interesting that season, because it wasn't just about Fire and PD. They had this other element there that was really interesting.
The way I kind of think, it's like a backdoor to a backdoor pilot.
Yeah.
Kind of, because
it's like them putting the thought bubble out there, like, hey, we could do this, and then you know, putting little feelers out there and seeing what NBC thought.
Yeah. What was it? It was like season 3 of PD that Med got introduced, right?
Yeah, that's what
season 4 of Fire.
No, okay. So season 3 of Fire, they did the backdoor pilot, so that would have been.
The actual.
Never mind. That's right. Never mind.
No. So it would have been season 2 of PD that they did the actual backdoor pilot, and then the season after that they actually did the show.
Yeah.
So it would have been season 3 of PD when the show actually existed.
Okay. Dang, man. Yeah. I can imagine if I was watching this in real time, I'd be so impatient. I'd be like, where the fuck is this show?
Well, I mean, and the backdoor pilot of Med is totally different, which we'll talk about next time. But it's totally different. And that was the same thing with the PD, sort of like the end of season 1 of Fire PD backdoor pilot was also
every backdoor pilot. Yep. Every backdoor pilot was different. Justice was different too. Yeah. I don't know if you guys watched Justice, like the one season that they had, but it's totally different. And I think it definitely makes a difference that Antonio was there, but it's not really why it was different. But yeah, no, it's definitely on that. They make their backdoor pilot so different, and then the show's like,
you know, and a lot happens between like, here's the idea and the premise, and then here's the actual cast. So I get that. Like, it's going to change. It's not going to be exactly the same, but there's even the tone of it is different by the time that they get to it. It's like a totally different, like Will Halstead is a totally different Will Halstead in the pilot for Med than the backdoor pilot. Like a very different Will Halstead.
Well, and we had talked about this before, where this backdoor to the backdoor pilot felt like it could almost be a very, I hate to say, like Grey's Anatomy type surgeon focused one, where and we'll talk about Chicago Med in the next episode, but that's still definitely a more very urgent, in the moment ER emergency department feel, which is definitely different compared to this season. I think it was season 10 of episode 10 of season 1 of Chicago P.D. Sorry.
The crossover episode was very much, like I said, because it was really all about the surgeon. And so it was very surgically focused. Whereas when we get to the actual like backdoor pilot for Med, that one actually was very emergency department focused because they were all trapped in the emergency room.
Yeah.
So it did change from like putting the feelers out there, seeing what kind of show this would be, to like, you know, the actual backdoor pilot. But what we did say last time is that the crossover episode with the surgical focus is actually a plot that we would probably see now on Med.
Oh, yeah.
Because they do have surgeons, you know, they have those sort of plots. They've had them before where it's, you know, donating organs or a tragic situation where this organ could benefit this person. They do that plot on Med. And that was like the first time that we really saw it, was in that crossover. So, I mean, that was interesting. And I did like the crossover because that's the first time we really and truly saw like a handoff between Fire and PD, because you had Bowden and Voight shaking hands. And that's sort of like the official symbol of a handoff, which let's talk about the fact that I really would have never seen Bowden shaking Voight's hand until it actually happened.
See, that's the thing. It's weird. It's weird seeing everything that happened in Fire, and I'm just like, wait, Voight is a totally different person. You're supposed to hate him. And, and then you come over here, I'm like, dude, I love Voight.
I know, and I mean, I love Chicago PD, but it's like going back, watching the reverse order I did, I'm just like, and they make no mention of like basically what they say he kind of went to jail or whatever. No mention of Matt Casey. Like, what happened?
There's like little tiny, like, I guess I would call them like Easter eggs, because you don't know what they mean unless you watched Fire season 1. There's like little tiny things that but that's it.
When I watched it with my family members, they were questioning that. They're like, wait, so what happened to Voight? What are they talking about? I'm like, oh yeah, so you had to watch Fire to be able to understand that, but at the same time it's kind of like sort of different. I mean, it isn't, but it's not. It's still the same plot, but it's like brought on differently on Fire. It's just it's a different approach for sure.
Scaled back how dirty Voight was.
For
sure.
Right, they did.
Because in season 1 of Fire, he was a lot dirtier.
He was. That's why.
A lot.
Yeah, it's very interesting watching PD first and going like, dude, I love this guy, and then watch Fire and just, shit, I'm supposed to hate him? Oh, this is weird. But yeah, no, it's very interesting for sure.
Yeah. So, but I mean, it did make the show, I guess I would say, sort of exciting to watch, because you've seen Voight at his worst. So like when you're watching the show, you don't really know what he's going to do. Like there's certain situations where you're like, oh, how far are you going to take this? Like, you know, like especially toward the end of the season. I mean, we saw Jay and Antonio both like struggle with that because they knew Voight and Al were going to cross a line and they didn't want them to. So that all does sort of come to fruition at the end. But the whole season you're watching him, you're like, I know what you can do, but what are you going to do? And I mean, like, really, he like the moment where he takes Jen out to like those little silos or whatever they are.
Yeah.
He makes him drive, and you're like, oh, are you gonna kill Jen? Like, what's gonna happen? Like,
I don't know.
And then I was very uncomfortable. I was like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's such a good book end though to the beginning of the season. He had that suspect drive to the silos and like, oh shit, what's gonna happen?
Like he does that, and you don't know, like, are you gonna kill this person?
I know. I definitely thought it was gonna be his last episode though, even though I didn't look it up. I was like, dude, he's gonna die. He's gonna die. He's gonna die.
But
don't cross Voight.
Like, as we've been talking about this a little bit, I thought about it more, and I really do I think what made it work so well in season 1 too was this really good dynamic that, of like old school cops like Voight and Al were. But then you have these, and where Antonio's kind of in the middle of that because he's kind of a little bit older than, I mean, obviously younger than Voight and Al, but still older than like Aaron, Jay, and Ruzek at the time. So it's kind of was a really interesting dynamic to see, like I said, Voight and Al being the older cops, Antonio being in the middle, but then, Jay, Ruzek, and sometimes Aaron, she could kind of be in the middle too, but it's just like you got to see this really interesting dynamic of, being record book type cop, like follow rule of the law exactly. Antonio, he kind of does what he needs to sometimes, but still tries to follow the rule of law. And then Voight and Al they kind of do what they got to do to get shit done.
I mean, the way that I look at it, because now that you've brought it up, this is the way that I think about it. Erin grew up around Voight, so she's seen the old school cops. Antonio came up probably when a lot of them were like his mentors or, the guys above him that he looked up to. So they both sort of had that exposure to like the old school method. So that's sort of, I think that's the reason they are sort of more in the middle, because they are familiar with how they think and how they work and how to work with them. Whereas the younger guys, not so much, because they come in wanting to do things the way they want to do them. So, and like we saw that especially with Al and Ruzek the whole time, because Al kept having to sort of knock Ruzek down a few pegs, which was always fun.
Such a good dynamic too.
So, and I noticed, because not to bring up season 2, but like I said, I've been watching a few episodes of season 2, and they do the same thing to Kevin in season 2. But in season 2, it's Jay and Adam doing it to Kevin. Like, he'll say something, and they're like, "Man, just say this." Like, why did you have to make it so complicated? So and that's kind of the way that I see those dynamics, is that you do have it sort of split up in twos, really, because you've got Al and Hank, who are definitely old school. And have less issues with taking it to extremes.
Right.
And then you have Aaron and Antonio, who will, if they absolutely have to, but Antonio, who clearly does not want to. Antonio, I would say, is more sort of in the moral ground than like Aaron is. I would say Aaron's more neutral than
I agree with that.
Antonio. And then, you've got Jay, who can be neutral, but most of the time he's not. Like that whole plot with, the child molester was very gray for him. But I mean, that is also a very, very heinous crime for someone to get away with. So you can understand how that would make him more upset and more willing to do extreme things.
Yeah.
So
that's a good way. Jay is very gray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think he's less gray now than he was like in the current seasons.
Oh yeah.
Way less morally gray.
He's basically Antonio.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah. I would agree with that. Because they don't have Antonio to be that.
No, to be that, exactly.
So I mean, I definitely in season 1, I mean, you're looking at Antonio and Jay sort of align in the sense that they do want to be more moral than not.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, there's a whole episode of Jay asking, "Is Voight dirty?"
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Antonio was just like, you could basically learn from him and also ignore it at the same time.
Yeah.
So
I mean, and I was about to say, Antonio knows that Voight isn't quite everything he wants in a boss, but at this point, Voight is his boss, so it's like, I got to work with it. And I think that's where Antonio's experience comes in over Jay's, because Antonio's had to work with that basically his whole career. And that's why I brought up the fact that he's probably more exposed to old school cops than Jay. So for Antonio, it's more like, you just you got to go with the flow. Like, you got to do what you can to make a difference, but you still have to work with these people at the end of the day. So you're going to have to let some things go.
Wasn't there an episode where Antonio was kind of talking about his last stint? It was when he was working for Vice, wasn't it? And he was just like, now my situation now is better than it was at Vice. So I kind of have it better and good as compared to what I had before, kind of thing. I don't know if I'm imagining that or if I read that on a fan fiction somewhere, but
I don't know. Season 1 is a jumble in my head now.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's hard.
I'm trying to remember it, but it's hard.
They don't go a lot into a lot of past. I mean, they start dabbling in it a little bit. Like, even, I want to say in the close to season finale, when Antonio gets shot, like, that's when we kind of hear about even Antonio and Trudy's past working together too.
Yeah.
And so it's very much still a lot of dabbling, not getting too into the details. So it's completely understandable.
Well, and you don't want to be bogged down with too many details at one time.
Exactly.
You know, that sort of gets boring where you're like, let's go into a detailed history of Antonio's resume. Like, no, nobody wants that, you know. Plus, it's always more fun to learn things as you go.
It's like,
very true.
Well, I mean, but you don't want to have a whole like quarter of the episode taken up by that, which is what would have to happen for it to really be detailed. Yeah. You know, you kind of want the momentum to keep building.
That's
especially
true.
In that episode.
Yeah, and that's another good thing about like not only just the first season of PD, but like the first couple of seasons, I guess, if you want to say so, because then they start dabbling with everybody's like background and past even more so, and the more that they dabble and they sprinkle it out, it is better. It's true. Yeah. I'm not. I was just being biased and be like, I want to hold on Antonio.
Right, no, I'm the same way though with Fire. Like I want to know every detail of Matt Casey's career. You know, I want to know that. But at the same time, I know they can't just basically do a whole episode where it's like, let's talk through Matt Casey's career timeline. Like, no. They can't do that.
That other procedurals tend to do, and that's it. And I feel like that like now that we're talking about it, it is kind of a mistake because it's like there are more than just that one lead character. Yeah. And, you know, and it's just, and sometimes it just takes up the whole damn episode, and I'm like, dude, what? Okay, that's cool.
Well, yeah. I hate to keep going back and forth, but like SVU too. Like I love, like, once again, I love the show. I knew way too much about Elliot Stabler and his entire like giant so early on, and we barely knew anything about everybody else for so long. Yeah. And I mean, it's like,
I love Elliot Stabler, but I agree.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing that, like, as we clearly see, like, that's a really hard balance for shows to sometimes find. And so when they do it right, and it's just like, yes, do I want more details? Always, but I do understand from the perspective of the show, you still want to keep stuff moving, and you don't feel like you're going into like 5 million pages of back detail, which it can be appreciated, but yeah.
Right. What I think PD did well is that the details we did get were essential to whatever plot we were seeing. So it's not like you had all this superfluous information that you had to process, because anything that we learned about Hank and Aaron was related to something going on personally that we had to know this information. That's you know, true, like when Justin comes back, you have to know that Aaron was raised by Hank to a certain extent, you know, from a certain age. So that is necessary information for their relationship. So they did a plot where you got to see that, you know. Yeah. So they were very smart about how they doled that out, and like the way that they sort of rationed it through the season and the plots that they used to point it out. I think that's very smart. And I think the Chicago shows all kind of do that, where there's a plot that's going to give you information on their background. But any information that you learn about their background has to do with that plot, which is a very good way to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, good writers for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they're good writers sometimes.
Yeah, I know. But
yeah, there are issues that I have. Yeah. But you know,
for season 1, I can definitely say that they had good writers. That's for sure.
Yeah,
you know, it's not perfect. It's not perfect, but close enough.
Season 1 of PD, the only thing that I really had an issue with was the reason that Kevin was promoted over Kim. That's the only thing that like made me so mad.
No, and that I was thinking the same exact thing. I was like, there's so much stuff I just love through the show, but like my least favorite and favorite moments come toward the very end of the season, and it's so bittersweet.
Oh yeah. But like you said,
I understand Voight not wanting romance in his unit, whatever. Yeah. I get that, but at the same time, he's only punishing one half of it, and it's the female half, and that bugs me so bad.
But I think that was the point though, because remember how you said like him and Al are old school, and Trudy had said that too. Like those two are from the 70s still, no matter what time of day it is. Like they're still kind of, their mindset is still kind of back there.
Yeah, but I can still be mad about it.
I know, but I see it. I am too. No, honestly, I am too, because I'm a female. Like I would want, like that's fucked up. Like, but I think I think the point of that show, like I know a lot of it had to do with like, you know, the female presence in that show. There's lack of. There's only 2 of them, you know, and I think if you guys notice, like in the break room, at least when Sophia was around, there was a sign that said "Men at Work," and then there was something written there that said "and women too," and there was like an exclamation point, and I think that was Sophia's writing. I think if she, not to say that it's not continuing now, but I mean it kind of hasn't been. But if Sophia had stick around, and you know how Sophia is with everything that she stands for, I think that might have been an issue that they probably would have addressed later on. Like, why are you guys treating us like we're women? You know, like we're cops. We're just like you. Imagine a gun.
Well, they did sort of deal with that in season 2 a little bit from the episodes that I've seen, just with Roman. When they introduced Roman, they did kind of, sort of.
Yeah,
but not with Voight. They don't address it with Voight.
Yeah.
They address it with other characters.
Right.
That's
That's what I mean. Like, I think it would if it would have just gone on a little bit more, like, and you know, getting more rank, or not Sophia,
well, like,
Eric getting more rank.
He made a comment in one episode too about not wanting female partners. Like, he thinks that partners work better when it's a male and a female, as opposed to just 2 women. And that's when Aaron was like, we're gonna do what I want to do, and so I'm gonna, you know, like, you know, like Voight even said that in season 1, and Aaron was like, no.
that was with Summer, right? That was with the that one girl.
Yeah, the one that he thought was like the rat for IA.
Yeah. And she was like, my ass. Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So no, I mean, but that's the only thing that I had an issue with, and I understand that that's probably part of Voight's character, but still, in my mind, it's like Adam was half of that romance. You're not going to do anything to Adam.
But my point is that I wish that they had handled that situation, and I wish they, like, you know, with Aaron and with Kim, I wish they had stood up about it. It's just like, dude, what? Like, why are you punishing me? Like, get Adam out of this too. Like, I agree. I agree 100%. But like,
that was the only thing though, and for 15 episodes, for that really being the only thing that I was like, what the heck, man?
Good.
It's pretty good.
That is pretty good. That is pretty good.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, I think about it as to the point where I think the whole point of Kim's story was for her to get brought up to intelligence, you know? And then from there, I mean, they didn't really, to me personally, they don't really do a good job as to how she is now that she's in the intelligence. But her journey up to getting intelligence was just, I guess they had to drag it out as long as they did. But that's just my point of view. Like, I feel like they had to drag it out somehow, and it made an issue. And I wish they handled it a little bit more, like I said, better. It would have been so cool to just see Kim be like, stand up her ground at Voight and just be like, yeah, why are you punishing me? Like, go out too. What the fuck? Like,
like, if it's such an issue, maybe demote him because he was half of the romance. Like, literally.
If I was Kim, like, I'm better at this cop thing than he is. Bring me in.
Right. Like, come on.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
No, that was frustrating for me, but that was it. That was the only thing that was really, like, crazy frustrating. Everything else, I mean, you know, like I said, I feel like they packed a lot into those 15 episodes, but I also feel like they used the plots that they did well. So, you know, I don't have any complaints about anything that I can think of.
Except all of them. I definitely, unfortunately, with the exception of Jin, but the rest of them, I definitely got attached to them for sure. But it's not the ships. It's definitely the individual characters for sure.
Yeah. Right.
Antonio is just, I want to say that he's probably my most favorite male character of all of them. I miss Antonio so much.
I think it's definitely, especially season 1 of PD, it's very easy to, like, fall in love with Antonio. Not even in a, like, he's cute sense, but just in a, like, he's a really good guy who tries really hard to be there for his family and be good at his job. And, you know, maybe he falls down on the job on one end than the other, but at the same time, you see him trying, and it just makes you really, truly like him.
Yeah.
Especially with the way he treats his CIs, because, you know, you kind of see everybody treat their CIs a little differently, but Antonio was always, like, rough but fair. So it was like,
yeah,
you committed a crime. Okay, so you're being punished for that crime. But also, I understand that you're an individual person and you have like real concerns and fears. So we're not going to ignore that.
Yeah.
Like it that's a very tricky balance. And I think John Zeta played that so well.
Hell yeah.
With like, showing Antonio with his sea eyes. I loved it. I loved that.
Well, and I think what worked so well for Antonio too, and like we said, like it's kind of like Voight and Al, not like his mentors specifically, but he saw what had happened in their lives, which unfortunately, I mean, you look at Al and Voight in season 1, but season 1, Voight's son is in jail and then eventually getting out of jail. So and he's lost his wife at a certain point, and then Al is on the rocks with his wife. It's like he's seen what's gone wrong, but they're still on the job. Antonio wants the job, but he also wants his family too. And so it's really interesting, just dynamic throughout that entire season of him trying to make that balance okay. And unfortunately, by end of season, he's left with the job and not with the family anymore, which is so sad. It's so sad.
No.
And not entirely fair.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Not fair at all. I know. I honestly think about that too. I'm like, dude, I feel so bad because then I'm like with Kim, like I'm so excited that Berzik like got together in that episode, but at the same time, it's like you finish that episode off with Antonio's family leaving him, and I'm like, oh, why? I just went from happy to sad quickly.
Right. I can't just give you happy all around. I've got to be like, this person gets what they want, this person loses everything, and you're like, why can't they both just get what they want? Why do we have to balance the scale? Can't they just be uneven and tipped in one direction? Like, why?
Because they want to torment us.
I know, that's the way they always do it, though. There's always like one person in the finale that gets like everything they want, and then there's the other person that's like, my life sucks. Like, no.
Oh, unfortunately, Antonio had to take the first hit, but
yeah. But the one thing I still give P.D. serious credit of for having like even like background people, like not even like it's hard to say, like most shows you have background people that you see little bits of but don't
like
really understand
little recurring bits with people.
Yeah, but like with almost every single character, it felt like a fleshed out storyline and character, which it still blows my mind that they were able to do that so well. And it definitely still felt like a lot in the season, but you didn't feel completely overwhelmed. But it clearly led to extremely good storylines throughout the entire season. Of you see a character come on screen and you don't feel like they're just passing by, like you actually understand what's going on with them and what the end result is.
Yeah, like Nadia. I mean, Nadia was not in every episode, but she was so well written and well done, like just all around.
Nadia is definitely my most favorite recurring character that I wish was a series regular.
Right. She was, I mean, and I'm watching, like I said, I'm watching season 2 right now. And even in season 2, you love her. She's had a rough past and she's trying to work through it. And especially, I mean, okay, we talked about this in take 1. The episode with her and Kim, when they go undercover together, is like, that was like my favorite of the whole season because I loved the way they wrote Nadia. And the way they wrote all the women in that episode, to be honest, the way they wrote Aaron and the way they wrote Kim and all of them in that episode were so well done. But Nadia especially, because that really shows you her character. Because before then, it kind of been a little like, is this person worth helping? Is Aaron just wasting her time? But then you see that episode and you realize, no, there's legitimately something there with Nadia that is going to be worthwhile if you just invest the time. And it was so good from her looking out for Kim the whole time. I mean, even to her own detriment, she took the hit of the drugs because she didn't want Kim to have to do it.
Yeah.
For
sure. I think that's definitely one of my most favorite episodes.
So good. Yeah.
So good.
I mean, that's like, I remember that episode the most of any episode. So I'm going to say that is my favorite because it's the one that I remember. I mean, almost moment for moment.
It's not a bad episode to favorite. That's for sure. It's definitely top 3. I don't even know what top 3 is, but that's definitely my top 3.
Yeah. So, like I said, I mean, even characters like Nadia, who aren't in every episode, who really, I mean, she was probably in 5 episodes, maybe?
I think she was in 3 episodes for
3
the first
episodes.
season.
See, and
Yeah.
even just
Yeah.
for 3 episodes, that's crazy good development.
Hell yeah.
Mhm.
I
Well, yeah,
think-
because we got like her intro. You know, like I can't even remember the exact storyline, but it was like something with one of the drug houses or
Yeah, so she was
prostitution places.
introduced.
Massage parlor,
Yeah.
wasn't
She
it?
was
Yep.
She was introduced, and then there was an episode where she went home with Aaron, and Aaron was supposed to take her to rehab the next day, and she ran away.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
there was the episode where she runs into Aaron,
Which is that one? Which is that
which
same
is the
episode.
one, yeah.
Yeah.
And then at the end of that episode, doesn't she end up actually taking her to rehab?
Yep.
I thought so. And
And
then
I think that's her last appearance
Oh,
for season
no.
1, isn't
I
it?
think she was in 4 because she was in the finale too. But Antonio picks her up.
Oh, that's
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Yes.
Never mind.
Yes.
She was 4. Yeah, okay. Whatever.
Yeah.
Same. 3,
Well,
4.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's still though for 4 episodes of development, like you fell in love with Nadia over 4 episodes. That's
Hell yeah.
impressive.
Oh yeah, for
Mhm.
sure. For sure.
Mhm.
That's really well done writing for that to happen. And then she becomes, a bigger part of season 2, and you like her. You want her to succeed. So, I mean, that's hard to do for a character that's only there for like a fifth of the season.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think I agree with you. That if I think about it, for a non-shipping episode, I guess,
Mhm.
the non-Linstead, non-Berzek, that's probably my favorite. Well, it is kind of
And
Berzek.
still, that
Kind
episode did
of,
have
a little bit.
it
little
did
bit.
have some shipping in it because, Kim gets beat up in that bathtub.
Yeah, never
And
mind. But still,
Adam
whatever.
finds her. But it didn't have a whole lot of shipping. That's what I'm saying, though. It did have some,
Yeah.
which is the way you really want it. You want it to kind of be like sprinkled here and there, especially when they're working. You don't want it to be
That's true.
heavy-handed, But you do want to see it. I mean, every shipper loves those moments where like half of the ship is in danger, and you just want to see the other half like react.
Yeah.
That's all you want. Just let me see what you're gonna do. That's one of those moments in that episode.
That's definitely one of my favorite Berzek moments.
Yeah.
That's for
So
sure.
it did have a little, but overall, I felt like it was focused on Nadia's relationship with both Aaron and Kim, which was great.
So good. God,
Yeah.
man, so good. I love that when they brought her in to, what do they call it? It's not the bunker. It's like the garage or whatever.
Yeah, the back.
Yeah. And then
Which is where she comes in season 2 when she shows up for her first day at work. Aaron's like,
ready.
This is the back, right? She's like,
no, you can go around the front now. You
go
work
around
here.
to the front.
Oh, so cute. But no, I was gonna say, like, you guys remember when she first arrived into that bunker when Jay brought her in, and then she went straight to Kim and was just like, "Is your daddy touched you when you were a little girl?" Like, held right up and was just like, "What?"
She basically tells her to like look dead.
Yes, look
oh my
dead.
god, such a
and
good
lose
moment.
the light from your eyes.
Yes,
Yep.
that's a great moment. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah, definitely. Oh man, Nadia. Oh,
No, which I mean, and once again, we talked a little bit about this in take 1 too. Is, I mean, the writing phenomenal, but it's just even still the chemistry between all of these people is just still killer. Which I think still part of me is from, I just think the incredible mix of well-seasoned actors that have been there, like, have been in the business for so long, like Voight, like Al. I mean, we've seen PJ Fluger and stuff, and I mean, same thing with Jesse Spencer. I mean, not Jesse Spencer. It's
Jesse Lee.
I'm sorry, like Jesse Lee Soffer. Sorry, I say Spencer. I think too many similar names in my head, so I'm sorry. But you just have and like Sophia Bush, like so many well-seasoned actors with that little mix in there too, and it provides such wonderful results, and it works so damn well.
Yeah, it does.
It's definitely a different chemistry in the older seasons than it was in the newer season. And to me.
No, I mean, I agree with you, but it's also, these characters are babies in season 1, and they go through a lot by the time we get to the later seasons. I mean, especially if you think about Kim, to me, she's like the Sylvie Brett of PD, because she's very like idealistic and optimistic, and in her mind, being a police officer is one thing, but in reality, it's a little different, and she struggles with that. And I like seeing that struggle, because And I think even when she gets promoted to intelligence, I'm remembering Al being partnered with her and just like not wanting to see that part of her end. Like he's like, I can't work with her because I don't want to watch that go away.
Yeah.
Because she is such a brighter person than a lot of them. She has a little bit of a brighter light. And so, like the episode with the lady that was a hoarder, where they end up finding the kid in her basement, that episode in particular, I remember as Kim struggling with like trying to speak to someone's humanity by giving her a break, but then finding out later, like, this lady is
keeping
not, like there's a child chained up in her basement.
Yeah.
Obviously, she doesn't really deserve to be treated with a whole lot of humanity, but Kim still did it anyway. And so then she struggles with that. She's like, am I a bad cop because I didn't immediately do what we were supposed to do? Because Platt sends in there to arrest her no matter what. Don't give her a break. Just do it. And if we'd done that then, and maybe would have found a kid in her mind anyway. So I liked that struggle. But in later seasons, you don't really have so much of that struggle because she's been on the job long enough to really, know the realities of it. So it is, I will agree, in later seasons, it is very different. But I think a lot of it is because of that, because you've got characters that we've seen go through so much crap.
And I mean, as you were talking about Kim, like, I think about it now, like, you look at also, I would say, I mean, Jay still, he's definitely gone a little bit darker path too. But I mean, if you look in addition to Kim and where we've seen her from season 1 to where we are now, but you look at Adam Ruzek and even Kevin Atwater, they're so different than the characters we met in this first season, which is kind of crazy because they all still seemed like they would be like, not the go by the book type forever, but they are so different. Like where the path they were on in season 1, like they're going to be the best cops that they were going to follow the letter of the law. And you look at these later seasons, it's very different. Like not all of them ended up becoming exactly like Alan Voight, but they're going down a little bit of those darker paths that you wouldn't necessarily have thought they would later be in the later season.
And I think part of that is intentional because it's like the longer you're on the job, the more you're exposed to the gray areas. It becomes less, right and wrong. And it's more like, well, is it really wrong if I'm making sure that, justice is served no matter how I serve it, which it is. But at the time in that situation, especially now in this climate, they're going to have to, going to be interesting seeing what they do now. But yeah, I mean, that's really sort of, I guess, the current struggle on the show, because they've shown that with Haley and Jay. And, it is that struggle of, this is what's gray. And this is sort of hard to discern in the moment what's right and what's wrong, if it's going to help good people and hurt bad people. So I think the start of that struggle is in season 1, but the characters do, they've become totally different because they've been on the job long enough now that they've seen some of this and had to deal with it. So I mean, it's interesting comparing like where they started to where they are now.
Well, my point was more so of the whole, like, going back to the team being a family type thing. Like, it's still there in the later seasons, but it's not as acknowledged as it used to be.
I would agree with that.
That's my point. Like,
I would agree with that.
As it used to be.
I think it's because there's less of a focus on the friendships.
That's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, no, I agree with that. I agree with that completely, because they've never really in the later seasons, they've never really let Haley and Kim be friends.
Yeah.
And that's a shame, because they're both really great, strong characters, and they should be friends. And I think and season 1, that episode of season 1 we were talking about, is so great because it shows the relationships between the women. That was like one of the showcases of the episode. And you don't really get that now. I mean, there was like one episode in a later season where Kim and Haley are both kidnapped, but even that didn't end with them being like friends. That was, and so I agree with you. I mean, I think the show sort of lost something in the later seasons as far as that goes by showing us like the friendships between because even like we were talking about earlier with Burgess and Atwater, we're not really seeing that either. And that, you know, has nothing to do with any ship, because Kim and Haley, you can kind of see because of Updeck why that would be a complication. But with
it out.
Logan and Kim, there shouldn't be any reason why we're not seeing that.
Right.
You know?
It's probably just the repercussions of, you know, not to point fingers, but it's going to end up there anyway. It's just probably the repercussions of just having a different showrunner.
Yeah. For sure. They have definitely changed hands.
Yeah. So it's like probably not doing as much research as you should, or just taking a different on it. It's like, I think we said this in the first take. It's 2 different shows, it feels like.
Oh, yeah. It's 2 different shows, for sure. Season 1 is... Season, 1, 2, and 3?
Well, 4...
I would say 4... I think 4 leans more toward resembling the later seasons, just because of how they treated Aaron.
Oh, well, yeah. Okay.
But...
Leaving, too, but still. Like,
yeah.
Definitely still Olmsted in the 4th season until he got handed off to Hyde.
Yeah.
Pronounce his last name.
It's E-I-D. However you say that.
But it seemed like, my point is just that it seemed like they used their whiteboards back then. Now it's just a prop that's just there. But
no, I mean,
I'm not hating on the newer seasons completely. I'm just saying.
No, I mean, they have. It's like 2 different shows. I mean, that's the way you have to look at it. Is like there's different strong points in the later seasons, and there's different strong points in the early seasons. There's different weaknesses in the early seasons and different weaknesses in the later seasons. They're 2 totally different shows.
Yeah.
But I mean, I do think that losing that sort of friendship element is detrimental to the show. And that's like, if you look at, okay, for example, Fire is my favorite of the 3 shows, and that is because I feel like Fire focuses on the friendships a little more than the other shows. So to me, I totally get that. I get that, because you want to see the friendships. I mean, the romantic relationships are great, but friendships are sort of like, even when you're not dating someone, you have friends.
Well, yeah, friendship is the foundation, really.
Exactly. And so let me see these friendships that these people have. If they're so close, if they're tight, if they're a family, let me see them be friends. Let me see them enjoying each other, not just working together.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's why Fire is my favorite of the 3s, because I feel like I get that on Fire.
Same.
I
don't really,
that's what I said earlier. Like, if I'm going to choose a favorite now, of what's going on now, then I'll Fire over the 2.
Right.
But, you know, for overall, that's But I'm just saying, I agree. I definitely, we definitely get more. Yeah. And it has a lot to do with Derek Haas being the showrunner for forever. Like, he was there since day 1. So keeping that consistency is actually a really good really good key of keeping what was around and making it still relevant, even if you don't mention characters that have left or like stuff like that. At least like keeping the whatever it was that made that show what it is. At least keep that element would have been great. Like, you know, but it's a totally different show, and there's so many factors as to why it is. And
and I feel like going into the next season, it's going to have to reinvent itself again, just because of everything that's happened this hiatus. So maybe there's room for that to change in the coming season. I mean, they can always, improve it if they choose to. It's just a matter of feeling like they're going to choose to. But I mean, they're going to have to make some changes. And we've already seen casting announcements for a reform storyline, so we know some of that is coming. So if they're going to make changes like that, now's the time to do it. So I'll be interested to see what the 15 episodes that we're getting for the next season look like, and what they choose to do with it. I will say I am already disappointed that they chose not to pick up the option for Lizeth, that they, chose not to go any further with that character. I'm disappointed about that already. So we'll see what they do to replace her in the unit, because that's going to tell me whether or not, I'm going to be even more frustrated with it.
But But congratulations aside to Lisette for
Oh yeah, no, totally happy for her that she's
tomorrow.
got,
good job.
Yeah. I mean, I'm happily gonna go. I already watched Legends of Tomorrow just because I'm still sticking with it, but I'm excited to see her on there because she does deserve to shine on a show too.
No, I mean, I totally agree with that. But I'm saying the only reason that she's having to do this because the show didn't pick up her option. So it's not like she left and I'm bitter about her leaving. It's that they decided creatively not to use her anymore. So totally happy for her. She deserves all the success and work in the world. But it's like, why did you spend that whole season making me fall in love with her?
Yeah, that's what I
take her away from me.
Yeah, that's
I don't understand that.
It happens.
Well, and
they showed a friendship with her and Haley. Like they actually purposefully built this friendship between her and Haley. And now the only female friendship that we have on the show is gone. Like, I'm just a little confused, but we'll see what they do with it.
Yeah, no, I'm personally excited, and I think they had better have a good reason for why she left the
if they kill
Rojas
her,
leaving.
I'm gonna be mad.
I don't think they're gonna do that, but that's just me. But you never know.
I'm hoping they don't do that. I'm hoping they don't.
Yeah.
I didn't hear you. What did you say? You're hoping you don't do what?
So there's a rumor that in all the interviews they kept saying that somebody was going to die. Well, since they announced that they didn't pick up her option, everybody's assuming that was going to be Rojas. So now, basically, we're just waiting to see what they do with her departure in the beginning of the season, and if that's what it was, if she was the one that was going to die, I'm gonna be a little upset. But I'm
understandably so.
I'm hopeful that is not what they were planning to do, and that it's going to be something else. Or if they were planning to do that, they've reconsidered.
If that's really the case, if I was, oh my god. Okay, so I have nothing against Vanessa Rojas. Like, I'm not crazy about her, but I don't hate her either. Like,
right.
Like, I had scenes where I was impressed. But at the same time, I didn't have enough time to really get to know her. But at the same time, it was kind of building to that. But you got it, like you said it. Like it was building to that point where we're spending so much time with her. Like, why are you gonna not pick up her option and do what you did?
Like they had both Haley and Kevin invested in her. Like really truly invested in her. Even if her and Kevin never went anywhere romantic, they were still forming a friendship and they had a connection.
Yeah. And for those real water like you, or like even just care for the friendship, like you said. And care for, Haley and Vanessa and the fact that they were roommates. She took her in and everything. Like, I would be upset.
She went Voight for her. Like, Haley went full Voight for her. Like,
yeah, she sacrificed. She almost sacrificed her career.
Yeah.
To pick up her mess. Like, and oh my God, why?
Exactly.
That makes me mad.
Exactly.
Well,
like,
and
why? Yeah. I didn't really think about it,
No, it's incredibly frustrating that I hope they do handle it well. And I think it's just, unfortunately, like everything with coronavirus, I think it's just with cutting the shows off as early as they did, we didn't necessarily get the full part. And so it's stuff where they're kind of left with these shortened seasons now, so they're trying to figure it out. And so I'm still not excusing why they didn't pick her up, because it sucks because they were building it up so well. But it's, they're maybe looking at storylines of what they can fit, and it's if they wanted to go a certain route, but they can't, and so it ended up working out the way they did.
For her option not to have been picked up, they had to have done that at the end of the season. So I'm thinking in my head, at the end of last season, they didn't pick up her option because, of course, no one knew that the seasons were going to be cut short. So I'm sure in those final 3 episodes, there was a storyline there to explain it. But we're probably not going to get to see that. So now the question for me is, are they going to use that, whatever they had in mind, for the end of the previous season, or are they going to do something else? So that's what I'm waiting to see. I'm like, I want to know what they're going to do with that. So I'm like, I'm hopeful that I'm going to like what they choose to do.
Oh, but agreed. It's
cautiously hopeful.
Yes. No, I totally on the same page. And I think it's just hard for a lot of shows in some networks with everything that had happened. Because, I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen, like, ABC had renewed that. I haven't watched the show, like Stumptown, but they renewed it, and then they canceled it. And that's a lot of these different services like Netflix or even some other ones, they're like, oh, we're going to renew it. And then, oh, because of Corona, we're not going to go back into production. And then it's canceled. So it's like, I think it's a very weird area right now still with that. And I don't love it, but it's out of
ABC's decision didn't make any sense though. Because they're like, we're canceling it because we're not going to be able to air it by this certain time. And you're like, well, why not just delay it? And then air it when you can finish it?
Yeah. ABC has not the same, but ABC has a history of doing that. Disappointing me and knows that they shouldn't be. So
no, I was a fan of Selfie, and they canceled that and made me mad way back in the day. I still hold a grudge.
Yeah, I was a fan of Whiskey Cavalier, and that was the one
with
Holy.
Forever was a really good show. It's another one that they canceled that they should not have canceled.
This is the whole.
And clearly, in general, I think that's a lot of the networks too. And I think it's still, Corona has made it especially even worse for some of these networks that already have bad behavior in general anyways, that it kind of gave them a horrible excuse to kind of be like, because of this is why we're going to cancel it, which is really, it's really shitty all around. And
a bubble show in the middle of Corona is probably really rough.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No, it's just interesting.
Yeah, no, I mean, and everything is sort of up in the air with all the I mean, Med right now is on a 14-day hiatus because of a positive test. So, you know, it's sort of, I realize everything's up in the air, but at the same time, I'm like, please make good decisions.
I know, like,
I never realized how mad the Rojas storyline made me until you said it.
Yeah. Like, you spent all this time getting me invested in her. You gave me some of her background. You built up friendships, and now you're going to take her away from me?
That reminds me of how I felt with Jimmy Borelli. Even though I didn't know that he only did a season. And I was like, why? Why?
They did him so dirty. That departure plot for him was the worst.
I was so mad at that. Yeah,
so
I didn't know.
What are our over-unders right now for when we do get to that season? How long are we going to be talking about how mad we're about Jimmy Borelli? Are we think half the podcast, maybe?
That's going to be the whole episode. The whole episode is just like, darn you! Jimmy Borelli
every day. Yeah, every day I say it. I'm like, why is Jimmy Borelli gone?
And why is he gone the way that he went? That was like, why couldn't they have pulled a Pete and just let him walk off into the sunset? Like,
I
love Charlie Barnett. Not nobody. I mean, I see it too. I love Charlie Barnett, but I love the fact that
Pete should have had a bad ending. I'm just saying.
No, I know.
Why can't they give another character a good ending?
True, because Pete. I think about it like Pete's really one of the only few characters that really did get a good ending.
Well, I mean, and we can include Foster in that now. Foster, you know, has a pretty good ending for her.
Yeah.
But
still, like, did it feel like an ending to you for Foster though? I didn't really feel like she was really gonna leave.
I think they got lucky. I honestly think they got lucky with the episode they ended on because she gave that big speech in front of the review board. Talking about, you know, her time working with, you know, the people that she worked with.
Yeah.
And it ended with her and with Foster and Sylvie sort of walking off together. So
that's true.
In my heart of hearts, I wish they could have done a farewell party at Molly's or the Firehouse or something, just like, you know, like they did for Pete. Just like one moment where the Firehouse could show her how important she was to them. But I'm not upset really at the ending they gave her because it genuinely is an ending that makes me cry. Like when she gives that big speech and her and Sylvie sort of walk off together arm in arm and you can see how upset they are, like how much they're going to miss each other. That to me, they got lucky with that, with having filmed that and having that in the can and being able to air that. That's not something we're going to get with Rojas.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. Well, it's you know, the difference is with Annie, she's been there for 2 years, so you naturally would get invested with her character.
Yeah, but they didn't really, to be honest, they didn't give her too much to do in season 2.
No, that's true.
They should have given her more to do because there's so much more I wanted to know about Foster. and so much more I wanted to see with her, just like with Rojas. There's so much more that these female characters that I want to know and I want to learn and I want to see them do.
Right.
You know, and it's just sad that with those two in particular, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still hopeful. You know, with the Rojas's exit. I mean, it's the way that we'll obviously talk about with later seasons of PD too. But, I mean, unfortunately, a lot of the exits on PD they don't end well at all.
No,
they don't
like
end
Antonio's is the prime example of
well.
just
Also, Al.
terrible.
I mean, we'll get there eventually.
Oh, yeah.
Al, Jin, Nadia. I mean, just a whole bunch is really
Nadia.
I got it pretty good for all of them. I think about it now. Damn, dude. And Erin's was the worst for me because then she's like my favorite character ever.
Right.
So.
And Erin's, even though she like left and she was whole and intact, still not the best ending. Because
especially if
she was
you
sort of like blackmailed into taking the job, which is not really what you want to see. You know? So PD doesn't have the best track record with exit. So I'm
I mean, I'm my fingers are still crossed, but it's I think it's just hard, and I know we talked about this in our last take too. Is PD is definitely I mean, when it first launched, there was definitely a lot of levity to it, but as it kind of has stayed in its more recent 10 p.m. slots, they have gone dark. They have, and so it's still, I'm crossing my fingers. Rojas is going to just be got detailed back to a different unit, and
please let that be the case.
That's what's gonna happen.
Praying to the TV gods, let that be the case.
I will bawl my eyes out if it's like, I hate to say it, what happens like with Sheldon Jin in season 1 is just
damn, dude.
I mean, and the thing that really like gets to me is that I'm pretty sure with PD they filmed a part of 21.
Yeah, they did.
So, like, I'm like, what did they film of 21, and are they going to reuse it? And was it at Rojas? Like, what? Please, I need to know.
Yeah.
PD has a really bad track record of keeping their deleted scenes deleted. So, yeah, I don't know. Good luck with that.
No, I just like I'm not even. What I'm concerned about is that they filmed like the ending for Rojas's character and it wasn't good. You know what I mean? And that they're just going to use it because they filmed it. That's like in my head. Like I've created this whole alternate scenario where I'm like, this could be really bad.
Yeah, I think we're gonna need to see how it sticks out.
I know, and I'm trying, but I'm still just like,
I know.
Hey, listen, if you're listening, go slip a DM our way. Let us know.
Yeah. Give us some insider information, please. We won't tell anyone, we promise.
No.
Logan really wants to know.
I do. I need to know. Is Rojas gonna be okay?
He's not gonna be able to sleep at night. Let her know.
No, but one thing at least to make us all feel better, I did want to highlight it here since we talked about it last time too, is at least in particular, the actors who play Adam Ruzek and Al, that I feel like always deserve to be highlighted. Of PJ Pfluger was in Princess Diaries, and just because it brings so much needed laughter to that after the Rojas talk, is PJ Pfluger was Jeremiah in Princess Diaries.
Yes.
And then what I still surprised you, Logan, with
you did last time. I'm sad we lost that reaction.
I know, so that's still, it's not perfect, but I still feel I want to blow people's minds just and bring them a little bit of laughter after all this. Is once again, like I said, Jeremiah, go look at Princess Diaries, look at Babyface, PJ Pfluger there versus
purple hair. He had purple hair.
Yep. So multicolor hair, and then to even season 1 of PD looks very different, and then even imagine so many seasons later how different he looks.
Oh my gosh.
And then what still blew my mind, and it still hurts my head thinking about it, is that
this is the one that got me.
Yeah, it's and I'm gonna butcher his name. I want to actually look up his name instead of just Al, the guy who plays Al. I'm so horrible with names. Like I'm pretty sure about
Elias Koteas, isn't it right?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, very Greek name. Kostas or whatever, and I'm probably butchering it. So he played Casey in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles back in
Another one that blew my mind because I loved that movie as a kid, and now I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Casey.
And it like hurts your head because it's like, no, there's no way. Like you, and
Just
that's
Casey is such a punk. It's like,
exactly. Which is just like, it's so the opposite of who he plays as Al, and it's just it cracks me up, but it works so perfectly. I mean, that's just the true testament to Elias Kostas and how wonderful of an actor he is, and how, and it's just it seems like it shouldn't be that long ago, but it really was that long ago. But it was just, it's so cool to see that.
And just earlier this year is when I learned that Patrick was in Princess Diaries. Like, I'd never put that together. And then somebody posted a picture of Jeremiah and his name, and I was like, wait.
Uh-huh.
No, are you serious?
Like, he doesn't even look like that at all, even with his face. And I'm like, what? Yeah, I thought the same thing.
It's wild.
It is wild. Like, holy crap!
Yeah.
But I felt like both of those deserve the honorable mention because it's I mean, it's just, that's so really cool to see that PD was able to gather all of these really not well-seasoned actors, but it's just, I think, just a really nice mix of people who
histories.
Yep.
You guys know that did you guys watch the Brady Bunch movie when you were little?
Oh yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Did you know that Jesse Lee Soffer was the youngest?
Wait, what?
What?
Yeah.
Hold on a second. I gotta look this up.
No.
Look it up. Look it up.
I gotta look it up.
No, same here.
Now I just blew your guys' minds. Little Brady.
No, that's me. Oh my God, you're right. Oh God, that's my head.
It's trippy. He looks so different.
He was. So good.
So if you guys missed Logan's reaction from Elias being on Ninja Turtles, this is a close second.
That hurts my head. Like that hurts my head. I don't.
Hilarious.
Logan, show everybody on the screen.
I used to be obsessed with this movie. I loved it. So like,
Brady Bunch movie?
Yes, I loved that movie. I thought it was so funny. So like this. Oh no, it's not.
Oh no.
There it is. So this
there
is like. Oh my gosh.
That hurts my head.
So funny. Like let me find a side by side. Hold on.
Oh,
look.
Oh my lord.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Look at that glow up though.
Amazing.
I hope he's not listening.
Literal baby to now.
Right. Oh my gosh. I did not. Thank you for telling me that. That brings me so much joy.
I mean, did we miss any other wonderful glow ups apparently?
No, I think Sophia started late.
Yeah, I mean,
so she wasn't that young.
I mostly know her as One Tree Hill.
Maybe Kim. I don't know. I haven't really looked up her stuff though.
Like I said, she was on SVU at one point.
Yeah, so was
victim, but nothing younger than that.
Apparently, Patrick was in SVU too.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
no.
I feel like everybody has at one point in time been on one.
Sure.
Yeah.
If you guys pay attention, like if any of you guys paid attention to my Twitter, I spent a whole like thread pointing out like all the people that I saw like on One Chicago throughout like the whole thing. I didn't realize the SVU was a whole different thing. I was like, dear Lord, I didn't realize these guys.
I was watching, like I said, I've been watching season 2 of PD.
Yeah.
And I just finished watching Med. Nurse Monique is like in an episode of season 2 of PD. Nurse Monique, she's a victim on PD.
Yep.
And so like I saw her and I was like, oh my God, it's Nurse Monique.
Is the victim on PD?
Yeah, but not as Nurse Monique. She was like a teenage victim of something.
Like a kidnapping of some sort. We'll get to there, but it's and they find her like covered in blood in like a trunk, I think, of some sort.
Yes.
What the fuck?
And she's playing was she playing like a 15-year-old or a 16-year-old? Like
some dead guy's daughter. Dead guy's daughter.
Really young. And then she shows up like a few seasons later as like a nurse, like an adult.
Like an adult nurse, like she's
on med.
Yeah.
Wait, no, it's gonna be hard to look that up. Never mind, I'll look it up later.
But no, yeah, I was watching PD and I was like, it's Nurse Monique. It made me very happy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh crap! Okay, well, there you go. So SQ's worse though.
Like Brian T from Med was. Everybody keeps telling me I haven't gotten to that episode yet. He's the villain on.
I think it's episode 15. If I'm not wrong, it's episode 15 of the second season. If I'm not wrong, it's the one which
should be the season before Med started, so that might be how those conversations began.
Probably they loved his range. I was playing like kind of like a guy.
Well, I mean, also if you've ever listened to anybody on the Chicago shows talk about their like casting experiences, the most typical one I've seen is that they audition for the Chicago shows for like years and then finally get like an actual role. Because that's Gianna and Kara have sort of like a similar story where it's like they auditioned and they auditioned and they auditioned and finally got something.
Oh my god, that's crazy.
Yeah.
We were talking about the backdoor pilot earlier. If you think about the cast that they were supposed to have, that it's nuts. Like I just think about it now. Like we wouldn't have Aaron, Jay, Al, Adam, Kim. It would have been God Eastwood. It would have been.
Yeah, but we did. Right. So the question is, because we did see Atwater actually.
Yeah, he was in it. Yeah.
Like he was seen as just like a patrolman.
Yeah.
We didn't see Kim, so it'd be sort of curious. Like, would we have gotten Atwater if he was just like a random patrolman? He wouldn't have been Kim's partner if we didn't get Kim.
Would have the guy that he was with probably was that was the Kim equivalent. That was probably what we're gonna get. Yeah. I feel like LaRoyce was casted to be in it, but I mean maybe I don't know. Maybe things change and he's a bigger capacity now. But
maybe this was just me, but I thought when they introduced Antonio, they really didn't touch on the fact that he had a family and he had like 2 older children. Not like obviously that his Diego is that old, but like they don't touch on his like him being married and having this family for quite a few little bit of an introduction. I thought when Antonio was introduced, and then boom, he has a family and he has like almost a teenage daughter, and I was just like, okay.
They didn't really go into Antonio apart from Gabby too much.
Yeah.
And I feel like they did that on purpose because they might have wanted to use him later for something. But you're right. Anytime we saw him, it really was just strictly pertaining to Gabby. So we didn't really get too many details about him.
Maybe maybe that was the point though, because like I think I might have said this in the last episode. I don't think they were really planning to do that storyline particularly for the PD spin-off. We talked about that. The first half of season 1 of Fire, they didn't really know what PD was going to look like. Yeah, and then when things started taking shape, that was when we had the back half where they used Hallie's death to introduce like the backdoor. Exactly.
Well, and I know I talked about it in the Chicago Fire podcast, but they changed Voight's son completely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't what's his name?
Well, I mean, he just made like a brief appearance in that first episode, and then we never really saw him again. So
no, but it's so funny because when I was looking at IMDb, I know it's mostly like anybody can really just fill it out.
Yeah.
Well, like when I saw IMDb, Josh Segarra was actually credited in that episode. So I looked back and I'm like, that's not him.
No, it's not Josh Segarra. I know what Josh Segarra looks like. That was not Josh. That was a college frat boy, like white dude. I'm sorry, it was not Josh Segarra.
Well, that's another thing too. They probably didn't expect it. That's probably one of the first clues too. They didn't really expect it to be
not at all
part of the storyline, or that guy was not available anymore. And they decided
most likely that's probably the case.
I think it's more likely the first option. They didn't anticipate to really do much with that beyond that. And then when they started developing the show, they're like, oh man, we got to do something with his son. Like, oh crap. Now we got to cast this part.
They came up with a really good alternative with, like, as far as creativity goes. But if we were supposed to get the original cast, like, it would be different. Like, I just try to imagine. I look back sometimes and I'm like, dude, if Scott Eastwood was actually in this show, how would it be? Would he be integrated with the rest of the cast, or would it just be him?
I feel like he would have been the patrolman that made it into intelligence instead of Atwater. Just because he's a handsome dude, and
handsome dude.
I would like to see him not in the patrolman's uniform, but I
wouldn't have been opposed to it either, to be quite honest. So,
but that's why I feel like he would have been the one that ended up in intelligence at the end of season 1, in this alternate world that we're discussing. He was on the show.
I don't think he would.
I mean,
it's
still like a interesting thought too. I mean, we got so much background. And please correct me. Is it Julie or Julia? Whoever she was. It's like we got so close.
Just go with Will.
Julie. I don't know. But it's just like it still would have been a very interesting and different show if she had stuck around, because the way they kept using her seemed like she was gonna be there.
It would have been nice to have a female police officer who had a family on the job. That's all I'm gonna say. That I would have enjoyed seeing that.
Agreed.
So instead we get Antonio, which is also nice. I love Antonio, but at the same time, like, as a woman, it's like I'd like to see a woman with a family and a husband dealing with this job. That would be interesting to me.
And I think for the back door, didn't Will Hyde have a bigger role than Antonio? Really?
Yeah.
Her role. Like, she was actually credited. I was looking at the credits. I paid attention. She was actually credited before him.
The theory that I've read about that is that they wanted to make space for more characters that had a relationship with Voight, which makes sense to me if they decided to make him like the leader, and he was such a bad guy in Fire. You want to make him as sympathetic. Yeah. And so they were trying, she was not a character that had any sort of link to him other than him being her boss. So they were trying to make space in the plot for that. But I don't know how true that is. That's just like a theory that I read somewhere. But it seemed to make sense to me if that's what they were doing. Because if you're going to make him one of the focuses of the show, you're going to have to make me believe it. So, and having Aaron around certainly helped with that.
That's true. Well,
so I think it was sort of like a situation where it's like they felt like they could really only have like one strong actress in the lead capacity, and I feel like Sophia just kind of won out because they could make that character more related to Voight.
Probably a difference too with Scott Eastwood and with Tanya Raymond too. Since they started recasting, they probably felt like there was too many good names. Too many big names.
Scott Eastwood, though, at the time when he made those first appearances, he wasn't Scott Eastwood. I feel like it was between that appearance and PD where he started getting all of those roles, because he had movies back to back for a while. And that might have been what it was. He just wasn't available. Plus, Dick Wolf likes long contracts, so he may have looked at that long contract.
And that too. I mean,
never mind.
That's true.
Either you get it, like I love Jesse Spencer. Like he's been there on Chicago Fire, because I mean, and he likes those long commitment stuff. But some people,
he's been in the business long enough that he knows TV is a good gig.
Exactly. And at that time, I think, like with Scott Eastwood, his career was really just picking up, and it was like commitment to smaller screen for a longer period of time, or big name pictures. And I mean, with I hate to say, like a last name like Eastwood, you kind of got to weigh that out a little bit. And I mean, he would have had a big following on PD. He would have, but I mean, it's still not necessarily
cute.
Exactly. I mean, I hate to. Probably just at the end of the day, it probably was money, and probably even creative liberty too. Is like you wanting to do roles for a shorter commitment period of time too.
Yeah, I think, and he seems like one of those actors that likes variety to me. Like just looking at the roles that he's taken.
So many different roles.
I think he's a lot, in my mind, I would say he's a lot like Monica Raymond, where Monica really does like that variety, and she's for so long couldn't have it, because of Fire. I feel like it's sort of the same thing where now she's like playing these, deeper, more complicated roles, and she's taking directing gigs, and she's, doing photography, and she's like everywhere doing everything.
Yeah.
So, I feel like maybe he's kind of like that. Maybe it's like he didn't want to be tied down to just one thing and one role.
Yeah.
But it would have definitely, you're right. If we'd had the original cast, and the same thing with Med, the backdoor pilot for Med, if we'd had both those original casts, totally different shows.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah. I was blown away when I watched that backdoor for Med, and I saw what's her name from The Walking Dead. I was like, oh, she was supposed to be on this show?
Yeah.
Shit, that would have been different.
Yeah.
But, oh man. Damn.
And they didn't have Maggie, which I can't imagine Med without Maggie. Can we just I can't. That's not even, you can't do that.
Well, even
we had some clueless blonde chick at the desk that didn't know what to do. And you're like, where's Maggie?
Right.
Well, and even we'll get into our next one, but I couldn't imagine without Dr. Goodwin. I love her. I love it.
She was
but I mean, it's
outside. She was outside the hospital because they had heard Dr. Charles outside with Bowden.
Oh yeah. Yep. Nope, you're right. It's been so long since I've rewatched a lot of that, so it's And I was still thinking of the PD, the PD backdoor.
Oh yeah, the crossover. Yeah, no. If they had done that, that would have been a totally different show. Way totally different than even the backdoor pilot. That would have been because I noticed in season 2 of PD, one of the doctors from that crossover pops back up. The male doctor, the guy, not the surgeon, but the other younger doctor that's friends with the female doctor whose little sister is being operated on. He's not in the crossover for very long, but I recognized his face. And he comes back in that episode where Jay is waiting for Maddie, waiting for news on Maddie. He's the one that tells Jay what's going on.
Isn't that Will Hite's husband?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's Julia's husband. It's Julia's husband it's Julia who passed away, our detective.
Oh. Okay, I didn't put that together. I didn't put it together.
That would have been cool to see, if he was actually part of the cast. Then it actually we kind of kept Will Hite's name and Will Hite's presence alive.
I thought that was interesting though, because it was he was in the season 2 crossover because he was there.
Yeah, I remember that. Okay.
And then he was in an episode of season 2 of PD. So it was sort of were they maybe toying with that idea?
Potentially.
Maybe. Yeah.
It's possible. But, it would have been a totally different show if they'd done it like the crossover. Because it would have been more surgeon focused and less emergency department focused.
Right.
And they had Kendra in that episode too. So really, if you'd looking at that, it would have been Kendra, that Will guy who I didn't recognize as being her husband. That's interesting. And then the surgeon, and then that one female doctor. That would have been the cast, which would have been very different.
Very different. And
less people would make fewer mistakes if that were the cast.
Very true. Very true.
Nobody would lock themselves in a room with a patient and force them to take medication or violate an advance directive.
Very true.
I'm just saying.
Oh shit, Logan.
Oh, that show is a mess. I love it, but it's a mess.
Yeah, I know it. Hold on, I'm dying. Okay. Oh shit.
I'm just saying, how have they done the same thing twice on Med? And I'm like, dude.
At least I'm not angry.
I mean, you can't really be, though, because you watch it and you're like, well, we saw this coming.
Oh, shit, okay. All right. Oh, man. Okay, back to PD.
Sorry.
So we knew... So we know about Logan's favorite episode. What's yours, Kim?
I mean, it's still really hard because I love the crossover. because it was just felt something different, and because of me being me, I love Kim Burgess focused stuff. So anytime there's a Kim Burgess focus, I'm always gonna love those episodes. But that still hit a little bit different for me because there's just that very emotional scene where Adam hugs her, and that meant the world to me because they weren't together, but you could tell he felt something for her, like he felt it.
Kevin wanted to stay with her, and Voight sent him back to work. That was a really nice little moment.
Well, and what I love about the crossover too is you got to see that soft side to Voight, which we really didn't get. Like he said, we take care of our own, and it's like he was trying to comfort Kim, and so that meant a lot to me. And so I'm gonna be devil's advocate. I'm gonna choose two. It's that episode, and I mean I'm gonna love the season finale because first it gets together at the end. So that's still I'm not mad about it. Not mad about it one bit because I mean it's such a like perfect scene for me because like she's so upset because like her dream job, she didn't get it. She's not going to have it for a while. So she lost her partner. Like, what does she have? Nothing. I mean, not that she doesn't have anything, but that it's everything, the rug was pulled out from under, but then she goes to her door after, she's an adult woman who looks like she's warming up Chef Boyardee for dinner, which still upsets me because she seems a lot more of an adult than that, but it's okay. I get it.
I eat Chef Boyardee.
I mean, I still do that from time to time too, as well. But it just felt like she was ending the season on such a low note, and so for her to kind of get this like happy ending to the season, it meant the world to me.
Oh, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Chef Boyardee.
It's really delicious, you guys.
See, I think it's delicious, and in my head, and then I make it, and then I'm mad at myself for eating it and making it because it's not as good as I built it up in my head.
Chef Boyardee, I can't get over it.
I mean, I'm gonna stand by the chef. It's pretty good. I enjoy it a lot.
I don't deny that he's good. But I just think about it like, what would a 30-year-old do? Yeah, that's something I would do too. It's just available.
I mean,
what's the point of cooking a meal for just yourself? Yeah. I mean,
like, I mean, personally, I still eat Lunchables some of the times because it's like, you know what? I don't.
Okay.
And I love
Lunchables are a good source of protein. They have cheese and they have meat. Okay, they have it all.
Oh my god. Oh shit. Well, yeah, that's a good episode.
So, Christine, your favorite episode?
Okay. I put myself on the spot by asking that question. Okay.
Yep.
Let's see here. So
I know, and if I remember right, didn't you say you loved the pilot? I thought you said you loved the pilot, but obviously there's so many good ones.
I do love the pilot because it gave me the best Linstead scenes to date. For a ship that was just never really meant to be a ship at that particular episode, it was just amazing. No, I think my favorite might have been the 5th episode where, what was it? I think it was when Voight first confronts Jay about his feelings for Aaron.
Oh, yeah.
And Aaron confronts Voight over who she could hang out with. And then at the end of the episode is when we see Jay in her apartment. Mm-hmm. And the way it was just the way it was shot. It was just, like I were screaming to the top of my lungs when I saw that episode. The way it was shot, you could tell already when she was opening that door for Voight that she was hiding something. And then she came in and the camera was just following her, and then it pans out and you see Jay. And I'm like, oh shit! But like everything that led up to that episode, I think that was the same episode where Antonio and Jay were in the boxing gym. And they were talking about Voight and how, like, is he dirty and everything. And then Aaron comes, and that's the first time you really see Jay, like, really entranced with her. The way he looks at her in that episode was just like, or in that particular scene when she was like, when she kicked that, when she kicked the punching bag, and just walked away, and the way he looked at her was like, oh. And then that was like the beginning of that whole goodness of that episode. I think that's my but for a non-Lindstedt episode though, for Berserk, I picked the one where they did the traffic duty. That's my favorite. I guess maybe favorite moment, that would be my favorite moment. I don't really remember exactly what happened in that episode. That wasn't the same episode where they kissed, right? That's it. I don't remember anymore.
No, I think it might be. Or no, it's what happens. No, it's the Nadia episode. At the end of the Nadia episode, where I think that's where they kiss, and then it kind of breaks away for a little bit.
Okay.
And then, yeah.
I don't know anymore. All the Berserk just got, because Berserk just kind of came out of nowhere.
I would agree with that. It felt like it was like
surprise though.
Yeah.
Like it came out of nowhere. Like I was just
because
like,
there were a lot of episodes where like early on where they didn't really interact, and then like they started very slowly interacting, and you're like, wait, is this going where I think it's going?
And it was basically like halfway through the season, they're like, let's try this out. It works, and they're like, okay, let's go full force at it. I was not mad at any of it whatsoever.
It wasn't mad at all.
That's like watching season 1. It really was. It's like you're watching it and you're like, are they going to do that? Oh, they're going to do that. Okay. It's like, all right, let's see where we go. Yeah. Now, it was one of those things where it's like it's like all of a sudden it starts developing in front of you, and then it's like halfway through developing before you realize, oh, this is going to be a thing. Cool. Yeah. That's how it was for me anyway. I mean, I knew Berserk was going to be a thing, but watching it developed, I was like waiting for the moment. Right. And then all the little moments happen, and then all of a sudden it's like a big moment, and you're like, wait, okay.
Yep.
Doing.
Exactly. No, that first kiss that they had, that was definitely my favorite kiss.
That was a good kiss.
It was a good kiss. Like, you just get Kim, like, flustered, and it's just like, she backs out, she's like, shit, what did I just do?
It's like, I should not have done that.
But Adam was like, oh, it's okay. Like, it was such a good kiss though. Like the way they kissed was just, oh, it was great. not to be weirded out, but like you really pay attention to that kiss. It's really genuine. It's one of those kisses where it's just like it's unmatched. And I can say, I can't really say that for a lot of couples either. Like that kiss was just great. Yeah, no, that's definitely one of my favorite moments. But yeah, definitely my favorite episode would be the episode 5.
Which I think as overall, I think the person who just did the casting alone deserves like the biggest of awards for the amazing job that they did.
And I've been thinking
do so well.
Yeah, I've been thinking this whole time that we've been talking, like if you look at Fire season 1's cast, it was, to be fair, it was a very large cast because they had a whole firehouse to cast, but it took them a while to figure out like who was going to get the focus, who had the best chemistry, who could bounce off the other the best. I mean, because you had characters they never really used. I mean, they used Vargas, but I feel like they could have done more with Vargas before, his career came to an end. And then Hadley, they didn't really use him until they like sent him away, and then he came back later for an actual plot. Yeah. There were characters that like they just didn't know what to do with. And PD never really had that. If there's a character there, they know what to do with them. So really, whoever is in charge of casting for that show, like figured it out. I mean, from the get-go, and it worked really well. So like whatever, if it was a team of people or one person, I don't care. They did a great job. And not that Fire didn't. It's just it was different because they had such a large cast.
Oh yeah.
It took a while to find that chemistry and like the best people that were going to play off of each other. And once they did well with it. But it was just with PD, it was so different because it felt like they kind of hit the ground running.
With I was telling Kim this in our previous episode, but Hattie, Sophia, and Jesse, the 3 of them actually did a pilot together before PD. So the casting got lucky with that.
Wow. Yeah.
I don't even think they shared like agents or anything like that, but they somehow landed PD together and got announced together at the same time. But they ended up doing a pilot. Actually, they did a pilot with Annie. So all 4 of them were supposed to work together on a show, but it didn't get picked up. And then, the three of them got casted together. And then Annie later years, which makes me sad because then Sophia was already gone. So that would have been cool to see all four of them together.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting because the three, like Patty and Sophia and Jesse were supposed to play siblings in that show. Yeah. So that would have been, so the chemistry is definitely there for the three of them already. But the fact that they got to have that chemistry that we were looking for, in the whole cast with the rest of the cast is just, it's a bonus for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was a very interesting tidbit. It's like, oh God, we're all supposed to play siblings. For my ship, that's weird, but It's
a little weird.
From what I read, Jesse and Annie were supposed to be love interests in that show. So I was like,
cool.
Yeah.
Like that very much.
Yeah. So I was like, all right, this is weird.
Like an alternate universe Chicago.
I think about it sometimes. I'm like, I kind of want to write a fanfic to where Emily and Jay kind of get together just because of that whole history. Maybe one day. If I decide to dabble on fanfic in this fandom.
There you go.
Which I might kind of have.
Hey, the more the merrier.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Thank you. Thank you. Any final thoughts on the season? Favorite character, go.
Ooh.
Oh, I got you.
Well,
there.
I'm gonna have to go with Atwater, just because I love him. I will always love him.
Oh my God.
But I don't know. I really love Al. Like, even in I'm watching season 2 now, and like he had a moment in a season 2 episode that just like had me rolling, and it just happened so fast. It's like I love Al and Atwater are probably my two favorites. Of course, I love Kim and Aaron. That's never a question. If there's a female on a show, I'm generally probably gonna like them, unless they're meant to be them, and then that's a totally different thing. But yeah, I think probably top 2 would be Kevin and Al.
Dude, Alvin, I think one of my most favorite scenes ever throughout the whole show was when Alvin and Adam were homeless. I remember he talked about take 1. That's the best I've ever seen in my life.
Comedic gold right there.
First of all, he doesn't brush his teeth.
No.
And Adam goes, dude, when was the last time you brushed your teeth? And then he digs in the trash and scares Adam.
He's making a very convincing homeless person.
Dude, he asked Adam for money. Like,
basically, his job that entire season was to just mess with Adam. Like, that was
pretty much.
And to eat bananas.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I can never forget that. That's just like the best.
One of my other favorite things is when he goes to get Adam from the academy, and they're doing that get the gun away from the guy thing, and Adam just like jumps the guy.
I thought you said to get.
I was like, yeah, we'll take him. We'll take him. That's the best. That's like one of my favorite. Honestly, that is one of my favorite character introductions that I've ever seen on a Chicago show, just because it's like consistent with Adam still to this day. Like,
oh yeah.
It's perfect.
That's true. That's so true. Oh my God, Alvin's a good pick though.
Yeah.
So is Kevin. Oh my God.
Gutted me. Like, it was just like the absolute. Probably one of the most painful death in Chicago Fire. Like, I mean, in One Chicago. Like, I can talk about, Shay's death was hard, Otis's death was hard, but like Al's was.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
He was one of the main reasons why I didn't want to continue the show such a long time. I was like, I don't want to see his death because I was like, I don't want to see him die. I was like, no, I'm good. But then I ended up watching it anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was a good idea, but whatever. At least. It's done. I watched it. Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah, that's how I felt about it. Like, get it over with.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Done. But no, yeah, that one was really, really rough.
Him
But
and Leah's were my hardest for sure.
But every time I watch like the one of the older episodes, it's like he's the standout to me. Like in so many of them.
Oh yeah.
Even like later when he's partnered with Kim in later seasons, and he's like sort of standoffish with her at first, but then sort of like he has that protective dad persona going on too, and I just love it so much.
Like, Agreed.
What about you, Kim?
I mean, I'm gonna keep it very short and sweet. My name, similar name, Kim Burgess. I mean, I just season 1, just like our current season, I adore her, and I love the growth that we've seen. So just the amazing foundation we got for her character in season 1 is just solidified it for me.
I'll tell you what my favorite scene is for Kim. It was when her and Atwater got their brand new car. And the way Kim reacted was just so cute. Like, she was just like bouncing in the car and just like, oh my God, this is like, she said something like, this is nicer than whatever she had or whatever. Like, that scene with her and Atwater was just like, that was pure.
No, the scene that, I mean, I adore, and I think what made it so, like, just kind of solidified it for me, especially, was her episode with Adam, where they were on patrol with one another. And so you got to see this really fun and funny side of her when they were doing like the traffic control.
The traffic control, and she's like, put your hips in it. Yep.
Oh yeah. I adored that, and I think that kind of showed him she's not just like your average kind of like cop who's just there, not clock in, clock out. But then the other side of that was the more serious part of when they took down the perp together, and him seeing her be the badass that she knew she was, but not many people would always get to see that side of her, and he was able to see like she's a real cop. Like, she's not here to play around. She's here to be just like one of us.
Yeah. And kudos to the writers for keeping continuity alive for that one. Because I remember the pilot episode when she was talking about being a flight attendant, and Jay and Aaron were just like making fun of her about it. The fact that she was able to show that during the traffic controls, like, this is how you do it. Like, Good job, continuity. Good job.
Speaking of that, one of my other favorite things is when she tells Kevin that she needs a car because her flight attendant friends are coming into town, and Kevin's immediately like, hey, I'm free, can I come? It's like, it's a great moment too.
Hell yes. Oh yeah, no, for sure. Watching back in these older seasons, I realized how much I loved Kim. It makes me sad that she's gone through so much that she's like how she is now. It makes me so sad, but I just miss it. I miss it so much. I miss her being funny.
I do miss that. But I mean, I love her to my dying day. I love Kim Burgess. So
oh yeah, for sure. I get it.
What about you, Christine?
Besides Aaron?
I mean, I knew it was Aaron, but it's like I still want to.
I'm gonna guess top 2, Aaron and Jay.
Yeah.
Am I somewhere in the ballpark?
Well. For season 1 anyway.
Oh yeah.
The later seasons, Jay's actually not my favorite character.
Oh really?
No, he's not. My favorite character, I think, is Kevin in the later seasons.
I understand that.
I love Kevin still, like, from the very beginning, but consistently within the 7 seasons,
he's the purest of them all.
Yeah. Yeah. But for the 4 seasons, yes, Jay. He's just, I laugh every time. Like, every episode, I just find myself laughing because he always has some line that's cracking me up. And I don't get that from him anymore. So it's probably one of the reasons why I stopped liking him. Because he's gone such a dark place that I wish he can find his way back. But that's just the way that the show goes. So I've accepted that. So I just go back to the older seasons and just find my comedic relief there.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, the show as a whole has gotten a lot darker.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fortunately.
But, I mean, I started PD because of Sophia. So it's only natural that, I end the show still loving Erin Lindsay to this day. And it wasn't just because of Sophia. It's just the character was just, is very
Well,
not really, so much relatable because I don't relate to that because I was never, never fostered or anything. But there was just something so lovable about Erin that I just can't.
I think to me, it's the fact that Erin's been through so much and yet she's still as good as she is.
Yeah.
Like, and I feel the same way about, to me, Erin and Matt on Chicago Fire sort of have like similar, where their backstories are so tragic that you feel like they shouldn't be as good as they are.
Yeah.
And so there's something about a character like that just sort of grabs you, where it's like, how are you this person when you went through all of this? Like, really? You should have gone a totally different path. So, like, you've got to have some sort of willpower or strength inside of you to be the person that you are.
Right.
So, I mean, to me, that's one of the reasons that Erin is such a great character, is because you hear bits and pieces of, like, everything that she went through growing up, and it's just impressive that she is as strong as she is.
Right. I didn't even think about that parallel, actually, now that I think about it. That's right. Matt's mom was in jail.
Yeah. Killed his dad.
That's not
And his dad, they've implied, was at least emotionally abusive. At least.
Yeah. Crazy past. That's true.
Yeah.
That's good for them.
I know. Well, see, and that's like, so to me, any character like that, where you feel like because I have characters like that on other shows, where like you learn about their past and you're like, you should not be this like stand-up honorable person that you are. So tell me how you got there, because I want to know.
Yeah.
Like Wyatt Logan on Timeless is one that I can think of too, where he grew up with like an abusive alcoholic father, and yet he's like this hero guy, and you're like, I don't understand. You're like way better than you should be. Like, you shouldn't be this guy. So I feel the same way about Erin. It's like, she went through so much, it would be easy to see her. And, her friends from her past say the same thing. It would be easy to see her on a completely different path, and yet she's a cop.
Yeah.
Not what they expected from her. So, for someone to have that sort of inner strength to, like, forge that path when no one expects you to, and no one thinks you're going to be able to do it, that's got to take some sort of fortitude that I don't have.
No, that's for sure. Well, if I'm going to pick someone who's not Erin and Jay, it'd probably be Kim. Yeah, in the earlier seasons, for sure. Kim's a close second. And then for guys, I don't know, that's tough. Probably Alvin or Kevin.
Yeah.
Yeah. As much as I love Antonio, I feel like Kevin and Alvin are more interesting. Or more my type of guy, I guess. I don't know.
I think for me, I like the mix of, like, I like the humor. So, like, they both have a good dose of that, like, humor to them. Al's is a little darker, but it's still there.
That's it. That's the whole reason why I love Jay so much. So, if you put the three of them together, oh god, it's a hoop fest right there. But yeah. I can't think of any more questions. Nothing. I'm done.
But I think overall, like, just a well-deserved round of applause for a pretty kick-ass first season of a show. And I mean, it still kills me to this day, though. Like, the Chicago shows don't get anywhere near the recognition they deserve. But I mean, that's just it sucks, because they're wonderful shows, and I mean, a lot of shows, that get the awards are like the dark and gritty or stuff on HBO. But I mean, the quality of these shows is just like unparalleled. And I mean, I get why that there is a universe for these shows now, and just for them to knock it out of the park with Chicago Fire and then be able to kick off this one so quickly and do such a phenomenal job, they deserve all the applause in the world, and they still should have gotten a hell of a lot more recognition than they have ever really gotten.
Yeah, and the thing about any of the Chicago shows is that they're willing to talk about the tough stuff, which I always find interesting. So they're not scared of a topic, really. There's things that I feel like they are scared to do. like show a woman actually having a child and a career.
Mm-hmm.
But but for the most part, as far as like topics that come up in the news or like, you know, tough situations that we see in real life, they're not scared of those to cover those, and they cover them usually pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, that's something that makes them quality right there, and they don't get enough recognition for it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I agree with you. The acting performances don't get enough recognition from anyone
Mm-hmm.
because it's like a franchise on a main network, and some people, I guess, think they're too cool to acknowledge that. But there are some phenomenal acting performances on all of these shows.
Oh my God, yeah. I think about, I mean, my bias aside, like Sophia's performance when Nadia died.
Oh yeah,
Probably one of the best.
That whole episode, that whole crossover event is like another level.
Yeah.
The whole thing, because it is so emotional. I mean, it really is. And like that should have gotten more recognition than it did just in general. Like everybody across the board pulling that off. I mean, that was, it's one of those things like you almost don't want to watch it because it is so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the performances in it are so good that like can't not watch it.
Right. Yeah. No, that's for sure. It's funny though, because you were talking about how they don't like to show certain things, like, you know, women having kids or whatever. But they're in Chicago, and you know that's like a really gritty. It's a really gritty city. Like if you're gonna be honest, it's a really gritty city.
No, it is.
So it's amazing how they just don't bring that up. I guess that's why that they don't bring it up, is because it's as gritty as it gets.
Well, and it's funny because the different shows have different tones too. So
yeah,
that's also interesting because Fire is very hopeful, and like Fire does not get into the darkness, at least not anymore, that some of the other shows do. And PD is dark and gritty. PD gets into that corruption stuff, and then Med, I guess Med, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a word for that tone because it's not totally hopeful, but it's also not completely dark and gritty. They're very,
I mean, I hate to use the word like a medical, like clinical, like in a lot of cases.
I'm actually just thinking of that. It's clinical, yeah. It's very much like these are real situations, and they're not all good and they're not all bad. You know, you're gonna have, they do a good job of balancing out, like some situations are really just gonna be absolutely heartbreaking, and some are gonna be inspiring and hopeful. So they balance that pretty well on that show. So I guess you could say that's kind of like a combination of both. So you've got like one extreme and then the other, and then Med that sort of falls somewhere in between. But each show has its own vibe. It's very interesting, just like the fact that they're one universe, but the shows are not at all the same. Yeah, but and I think if you're going to talk about Chicago being dark and gritty, the only show that I think really gets into that is going to be PD.
Right.
You know? Yeah. And even then, they don't get into it as much as they could.
Right. Yeah.
It's not like a golf show.
I was trying to get it, but I didn't get across.
Yeah,
that's for sure. Yeah. I wish they could, but they, you know, since it's a network TV show, limited to so much. It's not like it's HBO to work. You know,
it's nice though to have shows that don't go completely dark and gritty, because so many do. It is very refreshing to sort of have like a corner of the television world where you can be like, hey, sometimes good things are going to happen here, and that's acceptable. Like, it doesn't have to be all doom and gloom. I think that's one of the reasons I really like Fire, is because I feel like there might be sad things that happen, but pretty much every episode I'm going to tune in and I'm going to find something that's encouraging to get out of it.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's why sometimes I kind of wish that my favorite characters were on Fire instead.
Agreed.
Like, yeah, I agree completely, but shit. I don't know why, but I ended up falling in love with PD more. Assholes. Fucking Linstead. I hate you guys. But anyway, so next month is Med.
Med.
Yay!
I get to talk about my love, Maggie.
If you don't want to hear bad things about Med, don't tune in. I'm just kidding.
No,
There's good things.
there's good. Yeah.
No, the first season was great, so it'll be positive. So.
Oh Lord, no, there's good things. We'll talk about them, but yeah,
There's
that show.
also there's
I'll talk about Med. How much I love them. Don't worry.
But yeah, no, we'll get into, and I like that we're doing the season 1 of each show because then we get a little bit of, everybody. So that's nice.
But for next month, we're not gonna make it. So I guess for December's episode is when we'll start talking about the newer stuff too, along with whatever. But we'll probably have more information by next month. So probably end up talking about a little bit about what to expect for the respective.
I'll be curious to see how many episodes will have aired by the time we record in December, because they're supposed to start November 11th. So is it going to be like, because like they did toward the end of airing last season's, it sort of became like 1 episode, 2-week break, 1 episode, 2-week break.
Maybe at least like episodes before we record.
Again. So I'll be curious to see how many we have to talk about by the time December rolls around.
It's gonna be long episodes, guys. So
longer
than it is.
Long.
Longer than it is. I'm looking at my thing. It's already 2 hours and 25 minutes for this one. So sorry. Hope you guys have a lot of time.
Well, I mean, we're talking about an entire season here. It's not like we're talking about 1 episode. So it deserves at least a chunk of. I mean, it's gonna take a hot second always.
I feel like I'm gonna lay out our plan out for a little bit and just be like, okay, so next episode we can talk about Med still because there's nothing new, but future episodes we're gonna toy around with it and see what we feel like talking about. But we're probably gonna take a hiatus on recapping older seasons for a little while.
I feel like
I don't know.
I mean, I feel like recapping older seasons should be saved for when we don't have new stuff.
Yeah.
So
I feel like for as much detail as we're going into here, I think it kind of works as well as it does for season 1s of these shows because they laid the foundation for a lot of our upcoming seasons too. So it deserves some clear discussion and just talking about it for at least a fair amount of time because a lot does happen in their first seasons usually.
Just stay tuned, guys. See what
it's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
I can't wait for November. I'm so excited.
I know.
Am I excited? Yeah, I'm excited.
You're excited.
I'm excited. I'm excited to an extent. I have my reasons.
We still have something to watch, and it won't be like the doom and gloom of COVID-19 every day.
True.
Oh, that's true.
Very true.
Guys, I'm actually caught up.
Yay!
Finished everything of Chicago, even Justice.
Woo.
Nice.
Out of order, but
I still haven't watched it.
I got it. Yeah. So
I haven't watched it
either.
They're not really missing out because it didn't really connect as much as it should have. They didn't have time to connect as much as it should have. If you watch PD, then you're fine. You pretty much connect with Justice a lot. But if you have time, it's only 13 episodes. It's really quick.
That is really quick.
It's really quick. So and it sucks though.
Maybe I'll do that after. Because I'm rewatching I'm going to rewatch seasons 2 and 3 of PD because it's been a little while for me since I've watched those. Maybe I'll do that after I rewatch those.
Yeah. Then we can talk about Justice because it's still part of the universe,
Yeah.
Very true. Very true.
Really sucks, but whatever. Alrighty, guys. Last call.
Last
call. Have you been drinking today?
I have.
Oh, okay. I was too. Cheers, guys.
I had my unicorn sparkling mug and ice candy. So.
Unicorn.
There you go.
Yep.
All right, girls. Let's go.
Bye.
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 See you next time.